Chapter 642. Since Lin Yuan had been under everyone's gaze, his smile dazzled many aunties who were secretly paying attention to him. These aunties felt like they had clearly come to watch the All-Star game, but they had unknowingly become mommy fans. Lin Yuan hadn't expected that Master Hong Shun would actually bring him such a huge surprise so quickly. The current Sky City was the first true Class 4 Creation Master in Lin Yuan's hands. After becoming a Class 4 Creation Master, Master Hong Shun didn't need to make do and could perfectly make up for Lin Yuan's shortcomings. Master Hong Shun's ability to upgrade phase grades and Lin Yuan's current ability allowed Sky City to truly have a Class 5 Creation Master presiding over it. Lin Yuan said to Master Hong Shun, "I'll send you an address later. When you're done packing, just go there." After hanging up the phone, he found that Zhang Xiaobai had also hung up the phone and was looking at him in surprise. Lin Yuan heard Zhang Xiaobai say happily and anxiously, "Lin Yuan, I have to leave the Radiant Light Palace now. Xi and Ying and the others have woken up. I have to go and see them." This time, Lin Yuan did not say that he wanted to go with Zhang Xiaobai. Originally, when Xi and Ying, Tan Ran, and Lu Pinru were asleep, Lin Yuan did not say that he would go with Zhang Xiaobai. All the burdens fell on Zhang Xiaobai. Now that Xi and Ying, Tan Ran, and Lu Pinru had woken up, the fact that the Extreme Guild Club was a matter that the four of them needed to discuss and face together. "Go, Little White. I'll wait for you at the Dome Club." Zhang Xiaobai was slightly stunned when he heard that. This was Lin Yuan's second time inviting him. After joining a business club like the Extreme Guild Club, Zhang Xiaobai understood that with Lin Yuan's resources and strength, he would not be able to establish a guild club. Even if it was to recruit reserve members, there would be better choices than them. The first time Lin Yuan had recruited him was because Lin Yuan had helped him as a friend after knowing his situation. The second time he tried to recruit Lin Yuan meant that he sincerely hoped that Lin Yuan could join the Dome Guild Club, even if Lin Yuan's current strength was far inferior. As for Lin Yuan's recruitment, Zhang Xiaobai had always loved the arena, so he naturally had no reason to refuse. Zhang Xiaobai patted Lin Yuan's shoulder forcefully and said, "Don't worry, I'll go ask the three of them later. However, no matter what their plans are, I've decided to join." A few minutes after Zhang Xiaobai left, Lin Yuan's phone rang again. After hanging up the phone, Lin Yuan stood up and spoke to Lu Jie. "Brother Lu, put 2 more pairs of bowls and chopsticks on the table tonight. There will be 2 more of us in the manor." Lu Jie replied, "Leave it to me. I'm going to cook a seafood feast tonight. I'll cook the platinum bony sauté fish I bought before." Lin Yuan felt that today was definitely a great day with double happiness. Not only did Lin Yuan receive Master Hong Shun, but even Duan He, who possessed Emperor-class combat power, had also come to the royal capital. The All-Star competition was still ongoing. Most of the lucky spectators chose to watch the Challenger League, so there wasn't much to see. They had come to watch the All-Star match on a whim. Now that Chu Si had fought in the Challenger League, even she felt a little disinterested in watching. As a result, they didn't wait for the All-Star competition to end before returning from Faraway Manor. Wen Yu, the housekeeper, set up the 2 rooms on the 3rd floor next to Hu Quan's room. Not long after returning to the mansion, Lin Yuan received a call from Duan He and Master Hong Shun. Lin Yuan didn't expect the 2 of them to arrive together. Lin Yuan personally walked to the entrance of the manor and welcomed Duan He and Master Hong Shun into the manor. Duan He was an Emperor-class expert, while Master Hong Shun was a Class 4 Creation Master. Their horizons were naturally extraordinary. They immediately saw the extraordinariness of the manor. It was winter, and the plants outside the manor were withering. Inside the manor, it was like summer. Duan He knew that Lin Yuan was the Moon Empress disciple, and Master Hong Shun knew that Lin Yuan could casually take out spiritual ingredients from a suzerain/myth breed fae. As a result, he didn't show too much surprise on his face. But when he entered the manor, he was still stunned by the furniture made of completely jade-textured wood and the 3 Mountain River Eternal Life carps in the red sandalwood longevity fish tank. Duan He had been fortunate enough to visit the main residences of top factions before. Those top factions' main residences were nothing more than this. Moreover, the extremely luxurious and huge mural on the wall made the whole house exude a warm feeling. After dinner, everyone quickly became familiar with each other. Even Duan He, who had lived in Indigo Azure City and eaten all kinds of marine fays, couldn't resist them. He couldn't help but admire the chef's cooking skills. After the meal, Master Hongshan looked at the room that when you had prepared for him and then looked at the clean house. Master Hongshan pondered for a moment before replying. Young master, I'm used to being dirty. I'm afraid I'll be annoyed if I stay in this house. I see that there's an empty plot of land for sale next to young master's manor. Why don't I buy that plot of land and use it as a cultivation base for young master's manor? Moreover, these two pieces of land are so close to each other, and there are no other people around. We can open up the underground space of these two pieces of land. It's damp and warm underground with rich earth and water elements. It's the best environment to nurture plant-type phase. There are so many rare plants in young master's manor. In the future, when they bear seeds and breed, this underground space can also be used. Master Hongshan said this mainly because he didn't want to be restricted in his daily life. The speaker didn't mean anything, but the listener heard it. When Master Hongshan's words entered Lin Yuan's ears, his eyes immediately lit up. The return from Faraway Manor might have a lot of space, but he wanted to establish the Dome Guild Club's guild base in the future. It would occupy the empty plot of land at the north of the return from Faraway Manor. In addition, the expansion of the artificial lake would inevitably occupy land. If he had to use the empty plot of land on the west side to build a Fey cultivation base, it would appear that the layout of the manor was rather compact. Master Hongshan's idea was undoubtedly the perfect solution to this problem. What made Lin Yuan even happier was that Master Hongshan's idea of opening up an underground space was very feasible and imperative. Lin Yuan had a golden lotus brocade plant that had mutated from the flower brocade pearl. The underground space would immediately solve the problem of nurturing the golden lotus brocade plant. Moreover, the underground space was connected to the inside and outside of the manor, and it could be controlled very well. The secret of the underground space would also not be discovered and leaked by intentional factions. In a few days, the spatial tunnel that would be built from the manor to the Divine Wood Federation could also be set up in the underground space. Second, more. Button was almost done with work recently and still had to be busy for a few more days. In a few days, it would start to recover. End of this chapter. Chapter 643. As long as the underground space was large enough, no one would notice his manor's transportation and resource exchange through the spatial tunnel. Huquan did not need many spatial magnets and spatial soft silver threads to create the carriage. The remaining spatial magnets and spatial soft silver threads could be laid in the underground space and had the perfect effect of isolating detection. After all, after using the spatial magnets and spatial soft silver threads to shield the space, even a suzerain/myth 3 Fey like Endless Summer would not be able to easily sense it. All right, you can go and settle that matter first. After saying that, Lin Yuan shook his hand and took out a crystal silk embroidered satin brocade box. All the expenses will be paid from this. In addition, the things that you need for the breeding room will be provided according to the highest aptitude. After saying that, he took out a silver Fey storage box and handed it and the brocade box to Master Hongshan. Master Hongshan did not immediately check the items in the brocade box and the silver Fey storage box. Instead, he quickly replied, "Young master, don't worry. Young master, don't worry. This old man is very reliable. This old man promises to handle this matter beautifully." After saying that, Master Hongshan turned and left the manor, preparing to settle the matter. It was slightly past 6 in the evening, and even if it was not suitable to start work, it was also good to buy the land first. After leaving the manor, Master Hongshan opened the brocade box and was almost blinded by the dazzling pearls. A few drops of saliva flowed out of Master Hongshan's mouth, which flowed through his beard and dripped onto the elemental pearls in the box. It did not conceal the pearl's luster at all. At that moment, Master Hong Shun was holding the brocade box full of elemental pearls as though he was holding a ball of sunset glow. Hong Shun then took a look at the silver phase storage box and saw that there were a total of 20 flower brocade pearls that were growing excellently. Master Hong Shun, who was originally loyal to Lin Yuan, had the thought of repaying his kindness. Now, Master Hong Shun felt that he could not repay the kindness. He could not repay it in this lifetime. The happiness of being rich made Hong Shun feel that working for free here was a kind of extreme enjoyment. It was as though he was freeloading Lin Yuan every second. Under the guidance of Wen Yu, the manor's chief steward, Duan he looked around his room and was very satisfied with the place he would be living in the future. After looking at the room, Duan he sat on the water rhinoceros leather sofa and chatted with Lin Yuan for a while. He then went to the training room with Lin Yuan. When Duan he arrived at the training room, he immediately swore allegiance to Sky City with the 3 law runes he had comprehended and became Lin Yuan's guardian. Then, he faintly felt the power of the 3 laws pouring into his body and fusing with his spirit. It allowed Lin Yuan's perception of heaven and earth to increase by 3 small levels. The knowledge-related willpower rune was stuck in the middle, and it was very uncomfortable for Lin Yuan to be unable to enter or exit. There seemed to be a faint crack in this barrier that was holding him back. He felt that he could break this crack at any time. He was certain that he would be able to comprehend this knowledge willpower rune in 1 or 2 days. He might even comprehend it in the next second. This made Lin Yuan abnormally happy, as genius was finally going to evolve into a fantasy breed. Lin Yuan said to Duan He, "Senior Duan He, is it convenient to summon your 6-headed sea demon snake and thunderwave sky rumbling snail?" Upon hearing that, Duan He grinned. "Others can only dream if they want to see my phase, but it's naturally convenient if young master wants to see them." Duan He waved his hand, and a small snake that was about 10 centimeters appeared in his palm. Lin Yuan saw that this small snake had dark purple scales that were suffused with a purple misty brilliance. Looking at this purple misty brilliance, it was as though one had fallen into the raging waves of the dark seabed. The little snake had 6 heads, each of which had a different color. The snake head in the middle was dark blue in color and contained a terrifying amount of water elemental energy. It was also this dark blue head that was growing in the middle of the 6-headed sea demon snake that was wearing an exquisite sapphire conch. The sapphire conch was tower-shaped and had many sharp thorns on it. These thorns were covered with silver electro patterns that flickered with silver electric arcs. Once a myth I Fei went through the first world cleansing, it would be able to easily grasp the mimicry ability. Lin Yuan knew that the 6-headed sea demon snake and thunderwave sky rumbling snail were in a mimicry state. Otherwise, if the 6-headed sea demon snake's massive body was fully displayed, the entire manor would probably be occupied by it. The 6-headed sea demon snake and thunderwave sky rumbling snail might not have reached Myth 2 and were at the pinnacle of Myth I. However, their intelligence was already much higher than ordinary people. They were telepathically connected with Duan He and had long known of Lin Yuan's existence. Duan He had become Lin Yuan's guardian, which meant that the 6-headed sea demon snake and thunderwave sky rumbling snail had also become Lin Yuan's guardians. Otherwise, given their pride as pinnacle suzerain/myth I phase, they would not allow themselves to be stared at so wantonly. When Duan He saw that Lin Yuan had been staring at the 6-headed sea demon snake's head, he explained, "When a purple demon advances, it needs to devour a large amount of meat from a high-grade fey and consume heavy water. It uses heavy water to catalyze the energy in the high-grade fey's meat and absorb it. According to the different elemental attributes of the high-grade phase meat, the elemental energy will be sealed in the 6 snake heads." At this point, Duan He sighed with emotion. A purple demon is too difficult to raise. It's not as easy as silver lightning. Every time there's a thunderstorm over the sea, let silver lightning strike at the center of the thunderstorm. There's no need to spend so many resources and effort. While Lin Yuan was listening to Duan He's introduction, he had already carefully checked the attributes of each of the 6-headed sea demon snake's head. He found that the 6-headed sea demon snake's main head's attribute was water, while the other head's attributes were earth, fire, wind, poison, and dark attribute. Among them, the dark attribute head was pitifully small. It was obvious that the six-headed sea demon snake had the least chance to eat high-grade dark attribute phase meat. Lin Yuan was not in a hurry to talk to Duan He. Instead, he greeted the six-headed sea demon snake in thunder wave sky, rumbling snail. Greetings, Senior Purple Demon, Senior Thunderwave. As soon as Lin Yuan greeted them, the six-headed sea demon snake and thunderwave sky, rumbling snail also greeted him. When phase reached suzerain/myth, except for plant-type phase, they would be able to speak. Lin Yuan's polite behavior made the six-headed sea demon snake and thunderwave sky, rumbling snail have a good impression of him. End of this chapter. Chapter 644. However, Lin Yuan didn't expect the suzerain/myth, six-headed sea demon snake to be a female fae. Moreover, her voice was rather pleasant. Lin Yuan then asked Duan He, Senior Duan He, you said that Senior Purple Demon is hard to feed. Is it because of the lack of high-grade fame meat and heavy water? Duan He frowned and said, I don't lack heavy water. I have been in Indigo Azure City for so many years. Every time I see a water world dimensional rift, I will go in to explore it. I can always find a few drops of heavy water in a Class 3 water world dimensional rift. However, as the purple demon gets stronger, the high-grade fame meat is really difficult for me. Heavy water was similar to an extraordinary flame. One was a special spiritual ingredient produced by the water world dimensional rift, while the other was a special spiritual ingredient of the abyss dimensional rift. However, compared to an extraordinary flame, the heavy water produced by the water world dimensional rift was undoubtedly much more precious. Lin Yuan didn't have heavy water on hand at the moment, but he did have high-grade fame meat. Lin Yuan continued to ask Duan He, Senior Duan He, I wonder if Senior Purple Demon has any requirements for high-grade dimensional life form meat? Upon hearing this, Duan He glanced at the six-headed sea demon, snake violet demon sadly. When the six-headed sea demon snake saw Duan He's sorrowful eyes, she immediately yelled, Duan He, you pig! Duan He, you pig trotter! You always complain that I have a big appetite, but why don't you say that I can fight? Why are you looking at me like that? Do you not love me anymore? Can't you feed me anymore? When Duan He heard the six-headed sea demon snake's words, he didn't care that he was in front of Lin Yuan. He quickly coaxed the six-headed sea demon snake. Honey, what are you talking about? I don't love anyone, but I can't not love you. No matter how much you eat, I will risk my life to feed you. When Lin Yuan heard Duan He's words, his eyes immediately widened as he looked at Duan He and the six-headed sea demon snake in astonishment. After coaxing the six-headed sea demon snake for a while, Duan He looked at Lin Yuan and scratched his head in embarrassment. The purple demon is my wife, but my wife hasn't transformed into a human form yet. So, I haven't made it public. Lin Yuan, you have to help me keep this a secret. Lin Yuan didn't expect spirit chi professionals to be able to find a partner with their contracted phase. It was as though Lin Yuan had opened the door to a whole new world. However, he did not want to step into this new world. Duan He said seriously, if the purple demon wants to absorb energy from meat, it will have to eat fey meat of the same grade as itself. Given the purple demon's current strength, the effects of inferior fey meat at suzerain are already very weak. As for the meat that is one level higher than the purple demon, it is of great benefit to the sea demons. It's just that I can't get such meat even if you beat me to death. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan pondered for a moment and then waved his hand to summon 2 metal boxes made of gold, stainless gold. Lin Yuan said to Duan He, Senior Duan He, the items in these 2 boxes might be useful to Senior Violet Demon. He had plenty of high-grade fame meat on hand, but the meat from the dark-eyed scorpion tiger and the dark spirit-eye tadpole had no effect on the 6-headed sea demon snake. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not take them out. When a mother of bloodbath had split the night calamity crows and the dream-eating bats, it had collected a lot of spiritual ingredients, blood, and bones. It had also left behind some meat that was not very useful. These meat had unexpectedly come in handy now. Master Hong Shun's black copper pot grate mage needed bones, while Duan He's contracted six-headed sea demon snake only needed fey meat. Lin Yuan realized that these two people's needs were quite complementary, so he reserved the high-grade resources that he did not have any use for now. Duan He looked at the two golden boxes that suddenly appeared on the ground and knew that there should be high-grade fey meat inside. Gold-grade spirit material, stainless gold, was used to prevent any kind of energy from corroding. Although stainless gold was easily deformed under physical attacks, it could maintain its stability under the corrosion of elemental energy. The six-headed sea demon snake was obviously a creature that could not eat its fill. Now that it saw that there seemed to be food, it anxiously asked Duan He to open it. Duan He was a little embarrassed as he opened the box made of gold, stainless gold, in front of Lin Yuan. The moment he opened the box, Duan He was almost suffocated by the dense, dark energy in the two boxes. Duan He, who had been collecting high-grade fey meat all year round, immediately recognized that it was the meat of a pinnacle suzerain/myth 2 fey. Duan He sensed the density of dark elements in the meat. It was likely that the fey that contributed the meat was only a trace away from reaching myth 3. Even though the six-headed sea demon snake was a pinnacle suzerain/myth I fey, it was now happily burrowing into the box like a little girl. Shaking their two little heads, they began to play happily. Duan He excitedly held Lin Yuan's hand and said loudly, "Lin Yuan, thank you. Thank you for helping me raise my wife. Thank you for helping me raise my wife." Duan He was so excited that he was incoherent. Duan He had been working hard for many years, collecting resources in the wind and rain. In addition to making himself stronger, he also wanted to quickly live a normal married life. With the meat from these two pinnacle suzerain/myth 2 feys, the purple demon only needed to eat a small portion to directly reach myth 2. Duan He felt that the happy life he had been looking forward to for so many years was finally about to arrive. Upon hearing Duan He's words, Lin Yuan hurriedly waved his hand. Lin Yuan did not dare to say that he was raising his wife. No matter how one listened to it, this sentence had the flavor of a prairie after a rain. Moreover, Lin Yuan did not even have a wife now. Today was Duan He's first day joining the private faction, Sky City, and he had become Lin Yuan's guardian. He had not done anything and had already taken such precious resources. This made Duan He feel a little embarrassed. At the same time, Duan He could also clearly feel Lin Yuan's attitude toward him. During dinner just now, Duan He, who was used to seeing the ways of the world, had carefully observed that although this big family was led by Lin Yuan respected every member of this big family very much. Moreover, the relationship between this big family members was also exceptionally sincere and pure. Duan He could not help but reveal a smile. In such a private faction, no matter how unstable the outside was, it would always be a pure land inside. Wasn't this feeling what he had been looking forward to? After chatting with Lin Yuan for a while, Duan He suddenly thought of something. He took out a brocade pouch from his diamond-faced storage box and opened the brocade pouch. Then, he loosened the lid of the brocade pouch, and a handful of fine crystals of various colors appeared in Duan He's hand. Although these crystals of various colors were fragmented, they all carried either bright or dark golden vein patterns. The second one was even more. End of this chapter. Chapter 645. Duan He handed the crystal fragments to Lin Yuan and said, "These are all the law crystals I've collected. These are all the law crystals I've collected over a long period of time. I spent a lot of effort to get these law crystals, and they're relatively complete." When talking about the law crystal fragments, Duan He felt rather proud of himself. Among the spirit chi professionals with the same grade of phase as him, Duan He dared to say that no one could hunt more complete and numerous law crystals than him. Of course, this was all thanks to the six-headed sea demon snake, purple demon, who could eat and fight. Lin Yuan looked at the law crystal fragments in Duan He's hands and was overjoyed. It seemed like today was not a double blessing, but a triple blessing. There were many law crystal fragments in Duan He's hands, and it must be related to the large amount of high-grade fey meat the purple demon needed. Most of these law crystal fragments were at myth I, and some of them even had extremely thin laws within them. It was obvious that these fays had just undergone the world cleansing from suzerain and had been killed by Duan He and dug out their law crystals. Even so, these law crystals were enough for the sacred sword-wielding queen to have a good meal. At that moment, the sacred sword-wielding queen in the depths of Lin Yuan's soul was palpitating. Lin Yuan took the law crystal fragments from Duan He's hands and said, "Senior, I'll give you the law crystals that contain pure power of laws. I'll give you the law crystals that contain pure power of laws later." Duan He shook his head in a carefree manner. "I don't know how long it will take for Purple Demon to reach Myth 3, so I'm not in a hurry for the law crystals. There are others in Sky City who need the law crystals more than Purple Demon." Duan He's tone was very solemn. The law crystals could be said to be Duan He's greatest wealth, and he was so carefree because he was returning a favor. In return, Lin Yuan had given him nearly complete meat from 2 Pinnacle Suzerain/Myth 2 Dark-type Fays without any hesitation. Lin Yuan was slightly stunned when he heard Duan He's words, and then he revealed a bright smile. Lin Yuan knew who Duan He had said that Sky City needed pure law crystals more than the 6-headed serpent, Purple Demon. Those two were undoubtedly Endless Summer and the Mother of Bloodbath. It could be said that Duan He's law crystal fragments had directly accelerated the Mother of Bloodbath's advancement to a creation breed. Needless to say, Red Thorn's Eye of Relinquish was simply too good. Even though the Blood Brew grapevine had grown wantonly, there were close to 40 bunches of unripened Blood Brew grapes. However, these 40 bunches of unripened Blood Brew grapes were growing at a visible speed under the Eye of Relinquish. She changed into a new look every day. He estimated that the first bunch of Blood Brew grapes should be able to ripen in another half a month. After that, it would harvest 1 or 2 bunches of Blood Brew grapes almost every day, which could provide sufficient blood energy for the Mother of Bloodbath's advancement. If the Mother of Bloodbath could successfully become a creation breed, then the sacred source life form that Lin Yuan had reserved for it would come in handy. When that happened, Sky City's top combat power would rise to a whole new level. Duan He casually took out a bulging brocade pouch and poured out even more turbid bio crystals from it as he said to Lin Yuan, "That's enough. It would be great if young master could use these things. These things also contain the power of laws, but the power of laws is too impure. Even Class 5 creation masters can't do anything about it. The Bamboo Monarch's purple bamboo forest has always been collecting all kinds of rare spiritual ingredients from the outside world, but it doesn't accept these things." The sacred sword-wielding queen's heart palpitated when Duan He took out a handful of law crystal shards. The sacred sword-wielding queen said anxiously in Lin Yuan's mind, "Lin Yuan, I urgently need these crystals. Lin Yuan, I urgently need these crystals. These crystals can temper the law power that I absorbed from the law crystal and help the complete law absorbed by the queen's dress to evolve." Lin Yuan's eyes narrowed, but his expression did not change as he asked Duan He, "Senior, what are these turbid crystals in your hand? Senior, what are these turbid crystals in your hand? Senior, what are these turbid crystals in your hand?" Duan He hurriedly replied, "I've entered a few Class 5-dimensional rifts with my team in the Outer Realm. Although we weren't lucky enough to obtain the sacred source life form, we managed to kill some dimensional life forms that were equivalent to suzerain/myth I phase. These things are called law origin crystals. They were dug out from the bodies of those Tier 7-dimensional creatures." After listening to Duan He's explanation, Lin Yuan knew what these things were. Lin Yuan asked Duan He, "Senior, you just said that Class 5 Creation Master Bamboo Monarch doesn't need these law origin crystals, right?" Duan He nodded. "The power of law in these law origin crystals can't be extracted at all. Fays can't absorb it directly either, so it's useless. At most, it can only be used as proof of killing a Tier 7-dimensional creature." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan's breathing quickened slightly. Does that mean that Emperor-class powerhouses probably have law origin crystals? Duan He shook his head. "Young master, the Zheng family's Jiao Han song that you killed earlier should not have it. This old thing is very poor. I don't know where he spends his money. He doesn't usually go to the dimensional rift to fight. I don't know what he spends his time on. Isn't he just a creation master? Isn't he afraid of getting hemorrhoids by staying here all day? Lin Yuan did not expect that Jiao Hansong would still owe Duan He money at the moment of his death. Lin Yuan knew where Jiao Hansong had spent his money. Jiao Hansong's diamond face storage box had almost been turned into a boutique garden. Jiao Hansong spent his days admiring the flowers and cultivating the soil. How could he be in a mood to fight in the dimensional rift? At that moment, Duan He spoke again. Law origin crystals can be said to be the most useless thing to Emperor realm experts. Emperor-class powerhouses can sense the rule power within, but they can't use it. It's simply a form of torture. Young master, if you need them, I know quite a few Emperor realm experts. I can help you see if I can buy some. However, these things that are used to symbolize strength are not cheap. Lin Yuan was overjoyed. Previously, he had thought that his contracted sacred source life form, the sacred sword embracing queen, was powerful and could do things that only Class 5 creation masters could. However, it was too difficult for the sacred sword wielding queen to improve. It had consumed 2 Pinnacle Myth 2 Law crystals and 2 Fantasy V runes to upgrade it from a fragmented infant to a 1-star. If he wanted to upgrade it again, who knew how many resources he would have to spend? Even with such abundant resources, Lin Yuan still felt the pressure was like a mountain. First, even more. Good night, everyone. End of this chapter. Chapter 646. It was only now that Lin Yuan realized that the sacred source life form, the sacred sword-hugging queen, could not only consume law crystals to increase its star class. It could also consume the law origin crystals in the bodies of Class 7-dimensional life forms. However, he had learned from the conversation with the sacred sword-hugging queen soul that there were no laws in the law origin crystals for her to absorb. However, the sacred sword-hugging queen could use the energy in the law origin crystals to strengthen the original nomological power in her skirt. After the death of a myth-breed fae, the law origin crystal's laws would remain in the same state as when the fae was alive. Now that the sacred sword-hugging queen skirt had absorbed these laws, they were once again enhanced. It was as though the dead myth-breed fae had been resurrected and had broken through and increased its strength in the sacred sword-hugging queen skirt. The sacred sword-hugging queen could only use the law origin crystal's energy to enhance the complete laws. Fortunately, there were 2 children of fortune, the night calamity crow and the dream-eating bat. The night death and remnant dream laws in the night calamity crow and the dream-eating bat were complete and could be enhanced. Duan He had said that he could help Lin Yuan collect the law origin crystals from Emperor-class experts, which was a great help to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan might not have other things, but he had money and resources. The spirit-locked spatial zone was constantly producing heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls, so Lin Yuan did not feel the pinch at all when he spent them. Moreover, the elemental pearls were one-time consumables, so no matter how many he sold, it would not affect the huge market at all. Lin Yuan looked at Duan He and said with abnormal solemnity, "Senior, the law origin crystals are very useful to me. If it's possible, please help me collect all the law origin crystals you can." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's solemn tone, Duan He immediately became serious and said, "Don't worry, leave it to me. Don't worry, leave it to me." Duan He felt that he had taken on too much of a responsibility, so he changed his words slightly. It's just that different Emperor-class experts value the law origin crystals, which can be used to show off their strength differently. Some Emperor-class experts just treat them as useless decorations. The price needed to trade the law origin crystals with these King-class experts is slightly lower. Some Emperor-class experts believe that law origin crystals can represent their contributions. Even if law origin crystals are useless, they still treat them as treasures. Young master, you'll have to bleed a lot to make a deal with such an Emperor-level expert. Duan He did not understand why Lin Yuan wanted to use these law origin crystals. However, the next moment Duan He's eyes froze. Duan He thought to himself, Could it be that the Moon Empress can already extract the power of law from the law origin crystal? However, Duanhe immediately felt that he was thinking too much. If the Moon Empress wanted law origin crystals, she just had to say the word, and countless Emperor-class experts would rush to deliver them to her. At that time, these Emperor-class experts would probably be afraid that the Moon Empress wouldn't accept their law source crystals. I can use the Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls and the opportunity to customize a bronze/epic fae according to the willpower rune. Upon hearing that, Duanhe nearly choked on his own saliva. Did he have to be so rich? Since when did Class 4 Creation Masters' exclusive Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls become the currency of transactions? In particular, Duanhe felt that no Emperor-class expert would be able to refuse the opportunity to customize bronze/epic phase based on the willpower rune in exchange for the law source crystal. An Emperor-class expert might be able to find a Class 4 Creation Master to order a fae that was compatible with their willpower rune, but it would also require a lot of favors, reputation, and resources. It would take a lot of effort to find rare spirit materials. Back when Duanhe had sought the help of a Class 4 Creation Master, he had often been ordered by the Class 4 Creation Master to search for rare spiritual ingredients. Even if an Emperor-level expert didn't need this opportunity, he would still have disciples and juniors. If word got out that there was such a good opportunity, Emperor-class experts would probably line up to exchange their law's origin crystals with him. Duanhe blinked his eyes and asked after some deliberation, "Young master, I wonder how many Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls and opportunities to customize bronze/epic phase can you provide?" Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan replied, "The Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls are of the same level as the auction items. I could take out 1,000 now. As for the opportunities to customize bronze/epic phase based on the willpower rune, I can take them all." Over time, Lin Yuan had already accumulated over 1,300 Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls. However, after much consideration, Lin Yuan felt that he still had to leave some savings on hand for emergencies. Thus, exchanging 1,000 pearls for law source crystals was already his limit. As for the opportunities to customize bronze/epic phase based on the willpower rune, it would only take Lin Yuan half an hour. During this process, Lin Yuan's enhancement of the phase was also equivalent to cultivation. Even though Duanhe was an Emperor-class expert, he didn't know what to say at that moment. What kind of rich nest had he entered? Did he have to be so rich? Furthermore, money wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that the Creation Master resources that Lin Yuan casually mentioned had truly shocked Duanhe. At the thought that Lin Yuan had so many Creation Master resources, Duanhe's crazy thoughts, which had been sealed in his mind, stirred again. However, this restless thought made Duanhe not know how to tell Lin Yuan, because this idea was simply too shameless. Then, Duanhe thought that since he had become Lin Yuan's guardian, his increase in strength was equivalent to increasing Lin Yuan's strength. Shamelessly, Duanhe activated his mental strength. A dark blue willpower rune appeared in front of Duanhe. He only felt that this dark blue willpower rune carried a pure water elemental aura and did not have anything special about it. But it was more versatile. This dark blue willpower rune should be suitable for almost all water elemental creatures. When Lin Yuan had roped in Duanhe, he had thrown out 3 layers of tricks. The second trick was to promise Duanhe to nurture an exclusive bronze/legend fae based on the willpower rune that Duanhe had comprehended. Now that he knew the willpower rune that Duanhe had comprehended, this willpower rune that was too versatile had stumped him. Suo Lin asked Duanhe, "Senior Duanhe, do you have any fays you would like to form a contract with?" Duanhe stood there with a flushed face, waiting for Lin Yuan to say this. The second one was even better. There was more tonight, but it would be a little later. Button's hand was caught in the door, so typing was a little painful. End of this chapter. Chapter 647. Lin Yuan had always been used to looking into other people's eyes when talking to them, and it was naturally no exception when talking to Duanhe. Therefore, the moment Duanhe revealed an embarrassed expression, Lin Yuan knew that the Fey he needed should be somewhat special. Sure enough, Lin Yuan heard Duan he speak hesitantly. "Young master, I want a bronze/legend spirit siphon goldfish with the exclusive skill primordial spirit transformation. Do you think it's possible?" Upon hearing Duan He's words, Lin Yuan's expression immediately turned strange. Upon seeing Lin Yuan's strange expression, Duan He's face turned even redder. If he had made such a request elsewhere, Duan He would have been treated as a lunatic. The spirit chi required to enhance a bronze/legend spirit siphon goldfish was equivalent to enhancing 5 other bronze/legend Fays. Bronze/legend Fays were existences that could only be encountered and not sought after. Each of them required a massive amount of resources. His request was no different from asking for 5 bronze/legend Fays. However, this was the thought that appeared in Duan He's mind after he comprehended the willpower rune. The strength of the 6-headed sea demon snake, purple demon, made Duan He inclined to control the 6-headed sea demon snake in battle. It could be said that Duan He had no combat system. Even Duan He had been cultivating the thunder wave sky shattering snail all the way because it was extremely easy to cultivate. He only needed to be struck by lightning when he encountered a thunderstorm or thunderstorm. Furthermore, the thunder wave sky shattering conch could attach itself to the 6-headed sea demon snake's head during battle and become the 6-headed sea demon snake's thunderhorn. If one had to say that Duan He had a combat system, then Duan He wanted to contract other Fays to strengthen the 6-headed sea demon snake's combat power. He wanted to make full use of his advantages. No matter what, strengthening his wife was never wrong. Duan He's Fey affinity was water type, so he could form a contract with the spirit siphon goldfish. The spirit siphon goldfish could recover the spirit energy that the 6-headed sea demon snake and Duan He had expended during the battle, increasing their endurance. At the same time, when the exclusive skill primordial spirit conversion was executed, it could convert the target's elemental energy into spiritual power. The 6-headed sea demon snake's 6 heads contained a vast amount of elemental energy, but the spiritual power within the 6-headed sea demon snake was limited. The exclusive skill, primordial spirit conversion, could be said to be a divine skill that could multiply the 6-headed sea demon snake's endurance. The spirit siphon goldfish with the exclusive skill, primordial spirit transformation, was equivalent to a strong guarantee for the 6-headed sea demon snake's protracted battle. However, the exclusive skill, primordial spirit conversion, was unique to the spirit siphon goldfish. Apart from contracting the spirit siphon goldfish, there was no other way. Just as Duan He was about to change the topic and break the awkwardness, he heard Lin Yuan say, "I thought it was a request. This request is very easy to fulfill. It just so happens that the exclusive skill of the 5 fortune ranchu in the red sandalwood longevity fish tank downstairs is primordial spirit transformation. I'll fish it out later. I can strengthen it for you in a few days." Lin Yuan had originally thought that Duan He needed some rare aquatic Fays. If it was too rare, Lin Yuan would not be able to do anything. If it was the spirit siphon goldfish, he might have to expend more effort, but it wasn't a difficult task for him. Duan He had originally thought that Lin Yuan would reject him, but he had not expected Lin Yuan to agree so easily. This made Duan He extremely excited and moved at the same time. After experiencing ups and downs for dozens of years, Duan He, who had reached his current strength, naturally understood how rare creation master resources were. But now, Lin Yuan had unconditionally agreed to his request, which was abnormally excessive in his opinion. This caused Duan He to suddenly have a feeling that if the ruler treats me like a national knight, I will definitely return the favor with a national knight. Duan He didn't say any words of gratitude. Having lived to Duan He's level, he wanted to let Duan He know that it was better to do things in the future than now. Lin Yuan looked through the trainer's small window and saw that the sky outside was gradually darkening. After thinking for a moment, he said to Duan He, "Senior Duan He, go to the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce and stay with Listen for some time. The Zheng family should be making a move soon." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Duan He nodded hard. Recently, I've been staying at the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce at night. During the day, I'll contact young master for the law origin crystals. Duan, he could be said to be a witness to the feud between Lin Yuan and the Zheng family, as he had witnessed the entire process. Jiao Hanzhong wanted to kill Lin Yuan, and he was determined to kill him. Lin Yuan had also killed Jiao Hanzhong, and the Zheng family's Nightmare Squad's Nightmare 6, as long as the Zheng family didn't know Lin Yuan's identity. Lin Yuan and the Zheng family were destined to be a dead knot that couldn't be resolved. If the Zheng family knew Lin Yuan's identity, they would probably think of ways to beg for Lin Yuan's forgiveness. However, from Lin Yuan's words, it was obvious that he didn't intend to reveal his identity as the Moon Empress disciple. No matter what happened in the end, the Zheng family would be in big trouble. Through his interaction with Lin Yuan, Duan, he found that Lin Yuan didn't put on airs and didn't seem to have any intention of relying on the Radiant Moon Palace. This made Duan he a little suspicious. If he didn't rely on the Radiant Moon Palace, how did Lin Yuan get his massive Creation Master resources? If he relied on that sloppy old man, Master Hong Shun, he obviously couldn't do it. However, Duan, he didn't think too much about it. Duan, he was now a brick in Sky City, and he shared honor and disgrace with Lin Yuan. No matter what resources, the more resources Lin Yuan had, the luckier Duan he would be. After talking to Duan, Lin Yuan realized that Listen and Zhou Luo had already left the manor. The listening Heron Chamber of Commerce had been very busy recently. The luxury goods that they had stocked up were about to be sold. So Listen and Zhou Luo were so busy that they didn't even have time to come to the manor to eat. Duan, he immediately set off for the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce, ready to deal with the storm that could only be resolved by force. Just as Lin Yuan was about to return to his room and enter the spirit-locked spatial zone to feed the sacred source life form, the sacred sword-embracing queen, when you walked up to him and said, "Don't worry, young master, I want to go to the Hidden Moon Pavilion tonight. I've sorted out the information on the Zheng family, but I want to prepare the information on the Miao family behind the Zheng family in advance. In case of emergencies." Lin Yuan nodded in response. "Go. Tomorrow, the Star Web's private faction territory will be open to the other factions. At the same time, 100 fate letters will be issued. If I can come back, I'll take you to the interior of the territory I've arranged." When you hurriedly replied, "Young master, I will definitely rush back tomorrow morning." After saying that, Wen Yu shouted softly, "Flutter, dance of paper." As soon as Wen Yu's voice fell, she turned into fluttering pieces of paper and dissipated in the wind. Lin Yuan was stunned by the change in front of him, and then he laughed. The first was even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 648. Lin Yuan did not expect that when you had been sorting out the Zheng family's information for the past 2 days and had gone to the Radiant Light Palace to watch the All-Star match. She had not been idle at all. She had actually used her spare time to nurture the elemental source-type source paper to Bronze 3/Elite. While when you turned into a piece of paper and flew away, Lin Yuan had used Morbius True Data to check the source paper's attributes. Fey name, source paper, paper flower, Fey species, elemental/sand, Fey grade. Bronze 3 Fey type, source Fey quality, elite abilities frowny face paper dance. Turn the body into flying pieces of paper. The paper is immune to physical damage, but the effect is doubled when facing elemental damage. The transformed paper has a flickering effect that triggers once every 5 seconds and can flash 3 kilometers in a general direction. Paper crane packed condenses paper into a paper crane. The paper crane can convey a specific message. The paper crane records the recipient's aura. If the person without the aura of the paper crane receives the paper crane will automatically burn. The paper crane has a flickering effect that is 10 times that of the paper dance. Exclusive skill Frowny Face Heaven Listening Secret Manual. The contractor's body turns into a secret manual. The secret manual raises the flying pieces of paper. As the secret manual flips, it can record all the subtle sensations on the flying pieces of paper. Lin Yuan was stunned when he saw the elemental source-type source paper that Wen Yu had nurtured. In terms of the combat effect of the elemental source-type source paper, Lin Yuan could only evaluate it as trash. It could be said that the elemental source-type source paper had almost no combat ability. The only skill that could be of use in battle was the normal skill, Paper Dance, which triggered the blink effect once every 5 seconds. It could have the effect of teleportation. As for the Paper Dance's ability to turn into paper and be immune to physical damage, Lin Yuan felt that it was a good self-protection ability. However, while the paper was immune to physical damage, it had to bear double the elemental effects. Such a restriction made this self-protection ability very useless. After all, every Spirit Chi professional could contract a few Fays, and most Spirit Chi professionals would have Fays that were good at using elemental damage. However, Wen Yu was a creation master, and the Fays she had contracted previously were not good at combat. Thus, the origin paper's insignificance in battle did not affect Wen Yu at all. If one looked at the Genesis paper not from a battle perspective, but from an internal affairs perspective, then the Genesis paper that Wen Yu had nurtured would not be very useful. The origin paper was an irreplaceable treasure when it came to internal affairs. Previously, Listen had caught a silver messenger pigeon on the listening heron chamber of Commerce's tree and obtained some information about the Zheng family. In his opinion, each of Wen Yu's elite ability, Paper Crane Pact, was equivalent to a messenger pigeon. After all, the messenger pigeon was just a Fey. If a high-class creation master used a special method to trap it, the messenger pigeon might lose its vigilance. On the other hand, Wen Yu's skill, Pact of Paper Cranes, did not need to worry about this at all. The Paper Crane Agreement was under Wen Yu's control, so there was no risk of the secret being leaked. The Pact of Paper Cranes had a flickering effect, and its effect was 10 times that of the previous Paper Dance. In other words, the Paper Crane could fly 30 kilometers every 5 seconds, and it could fly 360 kilometers in 1 minute. As the source paper grew stronger, the effects of the skill would also become stronger. At that time, the flickering effect of the Pact of the Paper Crane would also become stronger. However, it seemed that the speed of the Pact of the Paper Crane was already faster than most Fays. It was several times faster than the Silver Messenger Pigeon. Wen Yu's Pact of the Paper Crane could be used as a special communication method for Sky City to the outside world. It added a more mysterious veil to Sky City in the clouds. As for the exclusive skill, Heaven Listening's Secret Record, it allowed Wen Yu to become the most outstanding intelligence controller. Lin Yuan, who had lived 2 lives, knew that the devil was hidden in the details. The source paper's exclusive skill, Heaven Listening's Secret Record, allowed Wen Yu to record without missing any details that could not be detected by the naked eye or that people could not help but overlook. If she had the support of a strong enough perception ability, Wen Yu alone was enough to support Sky City's intelligence network. Suddenly, Lin Yuan thought of Gray, which was hatching in his spirit lock's spatial zone. Gray, which had transformed into a heaven and earth Fae, could be said to be a pleasant surprise for Lin Yuan. It had a perfect concealment effect for the floating island whale that was about to hatch. It blocked the detection and perception from the outside world. This was Gray's common skill, Cloud Transformation. As Gray's strength increased, it spread out across the horizon, overlooking everything in the mortal world. It would be great if Wen Yu's perception could connect with Gray's ability, Cloud Transformation. That way, when Wen Yu used the source paper's exclusive skill, Heaven Listening's Secret Record, she could record the world shrouded by Cloud Transformation. She could perfectly collect the world's resources and intelligence. After thinking for a while, Lin Yuan slapped his forehead. He felt that his imagination was too wild. When Hu Quan came out of his room, he saw Lin Yuan slapping his forehead at the door of his room. He felt that Lin Yuan was not very smart. Hu Quan walked forward and said, "Is it very comfortable to slap your forehead? Do you want me to make a mechanical arm for you that can slap your forehead 100 times per second and experience 100 times the pleasure?" Lin Yuan, who was about to enter his room, revealed a handsome and puzzled expression. What was wrong with this craftsman? How could he say such a strange thing? However, if the mechanical arm that could slap 100 times per second was sold on the market, it seemed to be very popular. The sun was setting in the west, and the red glow of the sky only occupied a corner of the western horizon under the invasion of the night. It was like a weak flame lingering in the sky, unwilling to dissipate. For people, 2 men and 2 women, were panting heavily on the peak of a mountain on the outskirts of the royal capital, sweating profusely. It was obvious that the 4 of them had just climbed this steep mountain and exhausted all their strength. Zhang Xiaobai lay on the ground and shouted loudly. F***CK, the Extreme Guild Club. I, Zhang Xiaobai, want to live again. Zhang Xiaobai's shout was filled with joy after sweating profusely, as though everything about the Extreme Guild Club had been relieved after this shout. Zhang Xiaobai, who was shouting at the sky, did not notice that Xining, who was sitting beside him, was looking at him with eyes full of love. Zhang Xiaobai felt that it was not enough after shouting, so he shouted again. My rebirth failed. Xining, that be *TCH, is pestering me. Sob, sob, sob. Before Zhang Xiaobai could finish shouting, his beloved palm immediately used indestructible grasp and used a phase rush with a fatal rhythm. The second was even worse. End of this chapter. Chapter 649. A series of shrill screams seemed to frighten the red clouds on the horizon, and they disappeared into the darkness in an instant. At this point, the sky slowly darkened. Zhang Xiaobai rubbed his stomach, looking aggrieved like a little wife being bullied. Xining, on the other hand, had a cold expression and no longer looked at Zhang Xiaobai. Lu Pinru and Tan Ran were already used to this. It was as if the 4 of them had experienced this many times a day. It was as if he was already used to it. Lu Pinru said, "Let's go down a mountain and have a good meal. We can talk about our thoughts about the future." As Lu Pinru spoke, she looked at the lights at the foot of the mountain. Her eyes flickered. It was obvious that Lu Pinru was not as calm as she looked on the surface. Zhang Xiaobai was disappointed in the Extreme Guild Club's inaction after the incident and their attitude towards Xining, Tan Ran, and Lu Pinru. Lu Pinru had already given up on the Extreme Guild Club when she had been instructed to use her body to block a skill that would damage the soul. Lu Pinru had discovered the problem with the Extreme Guild Club a long time ago. She didn't want to stay in such a completely commercial guild club. At that time, Zhang Xiaobai, Xining, and Tan Ran were all working hard for the S tournament. Lu Pinru also wanted to stand on the arena with these 3 companions who had supported her all the way. Therefore, Lu Pinru had been suppressing her grudge against the Extreme Guild Club. Now that she knew what the Extreme Guild Club had done, Lu Pinru was the calmest. Lu Pinru's fluctuating emotions were completely filled with gratitude for Lin Yuan and the remembrance of her past self, who had dedicated all her youth to the Extreme Guild Club. Hearing Lu Pinru say that they want to talk about their future thoughts, Zhang Xiaobai hurriedly said, "I told you before that Lin Yuan has also established a guild club and wants to pull the 4 of us over. I have already agreed to go over to Lin Yuan. What do you guys think?" Upon hearing Zhang Xiaobai's question, Xining rolled her eyes at him. "What do you mean?" Zhang Xiaobai was stunned by Xining's question. He was a little confused. Then, Zhang Xiaobai heard Xining say, "Do you still want to abandon me? The Extreme Guild Club's procedures have been completed. I'll go to the Extreme Guild Club tomorrow to confirm the contents of the contract. I'll be free after 3 days." Tan Ran also sat up from the ground and said seriously, "I also want to join Lin Yuan's guild club, but I am no longer as young as before." Tan Ran's words silenced Zhang Xiaobai and Xining. Yes, Tan Ran, the youngest among them, was already 24 years old after the new year. He was no longer the youth he used to be. Zhang Xiaobai turned his head to look at the lights at the foot of the mountain and suddenly hesitated. At this moment, a calm and determined female voice rang out. "Why are you guys so depressed all of a sudden? Isn't our dream on the field? Let's just treat it as if the past dozen or so years have started all over again and we'll live again." Zhang Xiaobai, Xining, and Tan Ran digested Lu Pinru's words. At this moment, Lu Pinru started humming out of tune. "The answer to dreams has always been in your own hands. Only you can give yourself strength." After singing one line, Lu Pinru continued, "Do you still remember this song by the sparrow voice Lowly Goddess?" Lin Yuan put the answer to our dreams in our hands. Can't we catch it? Even if we're not strong enough and can't be members of the reserve team. It's also good to be a staff member in Lin Yuan's guild club. I can't repay what I owe Lin Yuan in this lifetime. For the rest of my life, I'll be doing odd jobs in Lin Yuan's guild club. Lu Pinru was usually very quiet and rarely spoke. However, Lu Pinru's words had a kind of infinite power that dispelled the confusion for the three of them and pointed out the direction ahead. Zhang Xiaobai, who had found the direction, once again revealed a frivolous smile on his face as he grinned. Let's go to the arsenal to eat in a while. I found a super good store. When Xiaoning heard Zhang Xiaobai's words, she felt her fists itch again. Tan Ren did not understand what Zhang Xiaobai meant by the arsenal and thought she had heard wrong, so she asked, Brother Xiaobai, what kind of place is the arsenal? Brother Bai, what kind of place is the armory? Can we still eat there? Zhang Xiaobai winked and said with a grin, Guns, bullets, cannons, everything. Guns, bullets, cannons, everything. There are even cow species phase and goat species phase. It's so beautiful. Let me tell you, every time I eat there, Xiaoning. Before Zhang Xiaobai could finish his words, he was punched by Xiaoning again. Tan Ran still didn't understand and was about to ask again when Lu Pinru covered his ears. Lu Pinru hurriedly said, It's rare for a new buffet restaurant to open in the capital. It's said that the food is quite delicious. I wonder if it will close down like the other buffet restaurants. We have to seize the opportunity and quickly go and eat to our heart's content. After laughing and fooling around for a while, the four of them looked at the lights of the thousands of households at the foot of the mountain. The four of them felt an indescribable sense of carefreeness when they regained their original intentions. Suddenly, the four of them fell into a state of enlightenment. When Zhang Xiaobai opened his eyes, he found that the other three were staring at him. Zhang Xiaobai coughed lightly, stood up, and said arrogantly, Ahem, I just accidentally comprehended a willpower rune. With that said, Zhang Xiaobai urged his mental strength, and a rune with the will of hope shot out of Zhang Xiaobai's mind. After Zhang Xiaobai finished showing off, he saw the three of them looking at him like they were looking at a fool. Immediately after, Xiaoning, Tan Ran, and Lu Pinru circulated their mental strength, and 3 willpower runes appeared at the same time and floated together with Zhang Xiaobai's willpower rune. At this moment, the 4 of them were dumbfounded. They looked at each other and felt that it was a little unbelievable. This was because the 4 willpower runes all carried almost the same flavor of hope. Immediately after, the 4 of them held hands and jumped on the top of the mountain, cheering loudly and full of carefreeness. They raised their joined hands as if they could touch the sky. Zhang Xiaobai and the others arrived at the entrance of the Muxiang residence in the Fei carriage and were about to go in. Suddenly, a violent sound came from inside the Muxiang residence. A large number of water elements suddenly emerged in the Muxiang residence. As the water elements surged, a figure flew out along with the door and fell heavily to the ground. Immediately after, a delicate shout came from inside. Sure, Sue, do you think you're a pig trotter or pig shoulder? How can this lady like you? Seeing the situation in front of them, Zhang Xiaobai, Xiaoning, Tan Ran, and Lu Pinru swallowed sluggishly. What is going on? Could it be that the Radiance 100 sequence number 8 Thunder Feast? Sure, Sue confessed to the Radiance 100 sequence number 21 Zhao Xiaochun. This was a huge piece of news. Third, into this chapter. Chapter 650. On an island covered with gems that shone brightly all day long, there were originally 8 towers of different postures standing on the ground covered with gems of various colors. 7 of the towers had 32 chanters kneeling on the ground, chanting softly. Every 32 chanters was led by a chanter. Their left hands were flipping through the secret tome inscribed with the patterns of their respective towers, while their right hands were waving in an intoxicated manner. However, under one of the towers, the 32 chanters and the chanter, who were supposed to be kneeling on the ground, had all stopped chanting and stood up. At this time, the tower had already risen from the ground and was suspended in mid-air. Inside the tower, there was a huge throne inlaid with all kinds of strange bones, and on top of it was a huge, weird ball of flesh. Not far below the throne, a short-haired woman with hollow eyes was slowly shaking her head. The earring on the short-haired girl's left ear made a crisp sound as it swayed. The earring on the woman's left ear was very special. There were 3 colored crystals the size of a fingernail on it. Each of the 3 crystals had a mystical and extraordinary exotic beast swimming within them. Each of them contained a strong scent of the lost. Moreover, the rules of the strange beasts in each crystal were so strong that it was as if a single rule alone was enough to open up a world. However, these 3 worlds that were originally opened up by rules were imprisoned in this colored crystal that was only the size of a fingernail. Suddenly, a crisp voice came from the huge, weird ball of flesh on the throne of bones. "Sister Third Page, why are you standing there and stroking your hair coquettishly? You look like an unaddressed love letter. So disgusting. Also, your expression is like a lost good that couldn't be sold in the last century and is now in the hands of this century." The purest voice uttered the harshest words, as if it was narrating an unchanging truth since time immemorial. Even if the short-haired woman with hollow eyes was extremely beautiful, it was as if she had become an ugly person who didn't dare to look in the mirror. Hearing this, the short-haired woman's hollow eyes suddenly flashed with a wicked light. "Hee, 5th page of truth, you're leaving the Holy Land to go to the path of awesomeness. I'm kind enough to send you off, but you actually dare to say that I'm ugly. Aren't you afraid that I'll tear apart your rotten flesh and destroy the paradise inside?" As soon as 3-page Eternal Sin's voice fell, a crack appeared on the huge, strange flesh on the skeleton throne. A boy with an unusually delicate appearance, like a porcelain doll, walked out from inside. Looking behind the little boy and into the huge flesh crack, it turned out to be a childlike amusement park. He could vaguely see the duckling toy inside and the half-eaten strawberry cake on the table. "Don't worry, Sister Third Page. It's cruel to look at ugly people too closely. I'm not looking at you anymore." Hearing the words of the 5th page truth, the expressions on the faces of the 3rd page Eternal Sin disappeared. His eyes returned to their previous state of being empty holes. After a long while, 3rd page Eternal Sin said, "Big Sister wanted to tell you something this time, but it seems like you don't need to know anymore." Upon hearing this, the 5th page truth said indifferently, "You should worry about yourself." The totem moon that originally shone on the Darkstone continent emitted the moonlight of the abbot and sublimated the Darkstone continent by half. It destroyed almost all of 7th page War's arrangements on the Darkstone path. How much do you think this has to do with Chung Wu, who you recommended to Sister 7th page Truth? He, Sister 3rd page Truth, is really a bad woman. Upon hearing that, 3-page Eternal Sin suddenly dodged and gently tapped the 5th page Truth's forehead with his finger. The 5th page Truth was startled by 3-page Eternal Sin's action, and then his expression became dignified. At that moment, 3-page Eternal Sin giggled again. The Radiance Federation's Moon Empress has reached that level. 7th page War needs to be afraid, but I don't. The 5th page Truth took a deep breath. His attitude toward 3-page Eternal Sin was no longer as unscrupulous as before. It turns out that in addition to Big Brother 1st page and Big Sister 2nd page, Big Sister 3rd page has also reached that level. Congratulations. The 5th page Truth was still in control of his innocent voice, saying words that were as convincing as the truth. However, his tone did not have the slightest hint of sincere congratulations. 3-page Eternal Sin turned and walked out of the tower. When he walked to the door, he shook the earring on his left ear and made a final sound. This time, you have moved the Tower of Truth to the Deep Brahman Federation on the Shockwave path. Be careful. After saying that, 3-page Eternal Sin jumped down and sat on the ground covered with gems under the tower. Upon hearing 3-page Eternal Sin's words, the 5th page Truth raised his hand, and an ordinary bone scepter appeared in his hand. He did not take 3-page Eternal Sin's words to heart at all. The fifth page truth rubbed the bone scepter in his hand and pouted. Deep Brahman is just a seed that I sowed in the early years. Now this seed has sprouted. It's time for me to grab the sprout that grew in Deep Brahman and pull out the entire soil. As the fifth page truth's voice fell, the tower of truth, which was already floating, cut through the space with the momentum of breaking through the air. Standing on the ground, 3-page eternal Sin murmured softly as he looked in the direction of the Tower of Truth's departure. Strange. The fifth page truth's sacred source life form is special and can be said to be the most feared existence in this world. Everything in the world is guilty. But why does my sacred source life form, the punishment mirror, predict that the sin on the fifth page truth's body will suddenly dissipate after a period of time? Strange. Really strange. With Hu Quan's help, Lin Yuan had fished out the 5 fortune ranchu that Duan he needed from the red sandalwood longevity fish tank with the exclusive skill primordial spirit transformation. Lin Yuan found that this spirit siphon goldfish had reached bronze 4/flawless. Duan he was not in a hurry to contract a new fae. Just the meat of the pinnacle suzerain/myth 2 crow of calamity and dream-eating bat would keep Duan he busy for a period of time. However, Lin Yuan was a little puzzled. Each head of the 6-headed sea demon snake had an independent personality. Generally, the main head, which contained the most elemental energy, controlled the thoughts. However, with the crow of calamity and dream-eating bat's meat, the main head that controlled the 6-headed sea demon snake's thoughts would undoubtedly change owners to the smallest and most pitiful dark-type head. The dark-type head's personality would control the body. The 6-headed sea demon snake's soul did not change, and its feelings for Duan he did not change either. However, each personality was also relatively independent and a completely different existence. In that case, wouldn't Duan he have 6 wives with the 6-headed sea demon snake? Purple demon? Moreover, as the 6-headed sea demon snake's strength grew, Duan he might have a 7th, 8th, or even 9th wife. Duan he was simply a scumbag who spoke righteously and had evidence to prove that he was a scumbag. From today onward, he would resume his 3-night watch. This was the first watch. End of this chapter. Chapter 651. After returning to his room, he entered the spirit lock spatial zone and saw Genius and Chimey helping him sort out the elemental pearls produced by the elemental shellfish. The elemental pearls were classified according to their attributes and purity. Even the 9 purity heavenly maiden grade elemental pearls were separated by Genius and Chimey according to the pearl rhythm. Even though the wind speed rapid antelope knew that Lin Yuan had entered, it didn't immediately get close to him. Instead, he was staring at the sea burial lotus flower as if he was staring at a thief. It was as if he would kill the sea burial lotus flower the moment it moved. The wind speed rapid antelope could control the violent winds to attack the bone lotus flowers that the sea burial lotus flower had produced. Genius scuttled to Lin Yuan's feet and skillfully climbed onto Lin Yuan's shoulder in a few moves. It then spoke in a childish voice. Lin Yuan, the sea burial lotus flower always steals the coral jade that you set up when Big Brother Goat is resting. When Big Brother Goat was resting, the sea burial lotus flower used the bone lotus flower to grab a few pieces of coral jade into the water. The sound of the water startled Big Brother Goat. Big Brother Goat has been staring at the sea burial lotus flower ever since he woke up. He hasn't left it at all. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan walked to the wind speed rapid antelope's side and rubbed its small head. You've already done very well. After speaking, he took another wind elemental pearl and crushed it before feeding it to the wind speed rapid antelope. He had previously asked the wind speed rapid antelope to help him manage the spirit lock spatial zone, but he hadn't expected it to have such a strong sense of responsibility. Just because of a few pieces of coral jade, he was competing with the sea burial lotus flower. However, Lin Yuan was very appreciative of the wind speed rapid antelope's actions. The wind speed rapid antelope was competing with the sea burial lotus flower because it clearly felt that it had failed to complete its mission. He had to take good care of the spirit lock spatial zone. After pacifying the wind-speed rapid antelope, he grabbed the sea burial lotus flower out of the spirit pool. He found that the sea burial lotus flower's strength had increased too quickly in the spirit lock spatial zone. Right now, the sea burial lotus flower had already reached elite rank 4. A small piece of sobbing sea crystal that could be seen with the naked eye had already precipitated out from the roots. However, he was a little puzzled as to why the sea burial lotus flower would not absorb the spirit chi in the spirit lock spatial zone. Why would he covet those coral jades that hadn't completely grown insect patterns? Could it be that these coral jades, which only had a few insect patterns, were more attractive to the sea burial lotus flower than the pure and massive spirit chi in the spirit lock spatial zone? The carcinoma fae, the sea burial lotus flower, was a fae that didn't have high intelligence. It would instinctively choose the most beneficial evolution and survival method. From the looks of it, the coral jades in the spirit lock spatial zone were extremely useful to the sea burial lotus flower. According to the current growth rate of the insect patterns, he found that the time for a batch of coral jade to fully grow the insect patterns was equivalent to the time for the wood to completely jade textured. Back then, Lin Yuan had promised Gao Feng that he would provide 150 caddies of coral jade every 10 days. The quantity that he had provided Gao Feng was only about 2/5 of the coral jade that Lin Yuan needed to nurture. He was also planning to use 1/5 of the coral jade to nurture the supreme grade angelfish of bliss that he had obtained from Gao Feng and the female angelfish of bliss that was about to give birth. Therefore, every time Lin Yuan nurtured the coral jade, he would still have 2/5 of the total left. Lin Yuan had originally planned to let Hu Quan make the remaining coral jades into luxury goods and sell them. However, the sea burial lotus flower had a need for the coral jade with insect patterns. Lin Yuan thought that he might as well feed the remaining 2/5 of the coral jade with insect patterns to the sea burial lotus flower and let it absorb it. Although the sea burial lotus flower had absorbed a few pieces of the coral jade with insect patterns and didn't have any changes, there was still a chance for the tumor fae to mutate and evolve. There had never been any precedent of the sea burial lotus flower evolving or mutating in the natural world. However, the coral jade with insect patterns was something that couldn't be nurtured in the natural world, even in the deep sea. Furthermore, the carcinoma fae, sea burial lotus flower, had only appeared once in the records. Just that one appearance had caused tens of thousands of square kilometers of barren land in the deep sea. Lin Yuan silently calculated in his heart. If he constantly fed the coral jade with insect patterns to the sea burial lotus flower, would the sea burial lotus flower have a chance to evolve and mutate? The more he thought about it, the brighter Lin Yuan's heart became. According to what his master, the Moon Empress, had said, some of the tumor phase would be able to evolve and mutate and would be able to form a contract with them. If the sea burial lotus flower could evolve and mutate, and the evolved sea burial lotus flower would be useful to Lin Yuan could form a contract with the sea burial lotus flower. After all, the fruits on the cinnabar Osmanthus haworthia would mature after a period of time. After eating it, Lin Yuan wouldn't need to rely on Morbius spirit lockability and could truly form a contract with a fae. The sea burial lotus flower was a plant-type fae, and it was within the range of what Lin Yuan could form a contract with. Previously, when Lin Yuan had formed a contract with Genius and Chimey, they had been so weak that they couldn't even be considered faes. Otherwise, Lin Yuan wouldn't have fainted on the spot after forming a contract with Genius and Chimey with his pitiful spiritual energy. After waking up, he would have had a headache for half a month. Instead, he would have been sent to heaven. Lin Yuan might have decided to feed the coral jade with insect patterns to the sea burial lotus flower, but secretly eating it wasn't a good habit. Therefore, Lin Yuan did the same thing as when he had just obtained the sea burial lotus flower and trained it. This training session took a full 2 hours. After 2 hours, the sea burial lotus flower was abnormally obedient. Every time it saw Lin Yuan reach out, it would involuntarily raise a small white flower. She wrapped Lin Yuan's finger with the flower. Lin Yuan poured the spirit siphon goldfish that Duan he needed into the spirit pool and let the spirit siphon goldfish, which had the exclusive skill of spirit primordial conversion, be raised in the spirit pool first. Then he took the brocade pouch that Duan he had just given him. He carefully poured the law crystal fragments from the brocade pouch onto the workbench. At the same time, he summoned the sacred sword-wielding queen. Unexpectedly, after the sacred sword-hugging queen was summoned, she did not even look at the law crystal fragments on the table. Instead, he said while drooling, "Master, let me eat that bag of laws of nature origin crystals first, okay?" Lin Yuan was delighted to hear that. "Looks like my contracted sacred source life form is pretty picky." However, it seemed that the picky princess was quite easy to take care of. After all, compared to the law crystals of suzerain/myth breed phase, the law origin crystals produced in the bodies of class 7-dimensional life forms were undoubtedly much easier to obtain. Naturally, Lin Yuan would not reject his contracted sacred source life form's request. He took out the other brocade pouch that Duan he had given him and poured the law origin crystals from the brocade pouch onto the workbench as well. There would be one more in a while. Into this chapter. Chapter 652. Lin Yuan counted carefully and found that there were a total of 21 law origin crystals on the workbench. These 21 law origin crystals were proof of Duan he's current strength, or perhaps even earlier. He had killed at least 21 level 7-dimensional creatures with strength equivalent to the suzerain/myth I realm. Lin Yuan could not help but sigh at Duan he's or the six-headed sea demon snake's strength in the same grade. Lin Yuan said to the princess, whose eyes were shining as she looked at the law origin crystals, "Absorb these law origin crystals first. You should absorb these law origin crystals first so that I can investigate the types of law crystal fragments." The sacred sword-hugging princess received Lin Yuan's permission and happily picked up the turbid law origin crystals. One by one, she embedded the law origin crystals into the crown on her forehead. When he saw the princess embedding the law origin crystals into the crown, Lin Yuan could not help but think of how Zhao Xiaochun ate. This was simply too similar. Lin Yuan was about to say that the 21 turbid law origin crystals embedded in the princess crown looked a little ugly. But then, the 21 turbid law origin crystals embedded in the crown shone like stars. Each law origin crystal scattered a starry rain, and the starlight fell on the princess' fluffy and wide dress. Upon seeing the princess absorbing the law origin crystals, Lin Yuan turned his head and began to examine the pile of law crystal fragments on the table in front of him. When Duan he had poured the law crystal fragments into his hand, Lin Yuan had felt that there were a lot of them. However, after using Morbius True Data to check, Lin Yuan realized that this handful of law crystal fragments had only come from 5 suzerain/myth I phase. It was just that a complete law crystal would shatter into many fragments. There were gaps in the fragments, and when mixed together, these fragments appeared to be much more than 5 complete law crystals. Lin Yuan carefully picked out these law crystal fragments. After he was done, Lin Yuan muttered softly, "Did Duan he destroy the horned gray whale family?" Lin Yuan found that 3 of the 5 suzerain/myth I phase that had contributed law crystal fragments came from the horned gray whales. Lin Yuan finally understood why Duan he's 6-headed sea demon snake water type main head was more than twice the size of the heads of the other attributes. It was probably because it had eaten the meat of these 3 suzerain/myth water-type horned gray whales. The laws comprehended by these 3 horned gray whales were very similar, but their tastes were also slightly different. The wave law, cut law, and vortex law. These 3 laws were the laws that extended from the water element's attack direction and were considered 3 very ordinary laws. However, he felt that these 3 laws were exceptionally suitable for the function of the princess' sacred sword form. The sacred sword's blade was unleashed. The sacred sword queen's sacred sword queen sword form was light sword queen sword form. Sword queen's sacred sword queen sword form. Another pile of gilded flame dragon lice, came from a fire attribute, Fey, and comprehended the scorching flame law. If the sacred sword-hugging queen absorbed these 5 piles of law crystal fragments, the sacred sword-hugging queen wouldn't be able to absorb them. Sword crystals, sword divine of law, sacred crystals, sword to each of the sacred of law of crystals. However, in addition to the 3 complete law crystals that the princess's silk cocoon had absorbed previously, the princess's silk cocoon now contained 8 types of laws that originated from the 5 elements of light: darkness, ice, water, fire, and light. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly heard the rustling of leaves and 2 strange chirps. One of the chirps sounded unfamiliar to Lin Yuan, but he couldn't tell what it was. However, he could clearly hear that the other chirp was a crow's chirp. Lin Yuan turned his head and was stunned by the sacred sword-wielding queen's transformation. The 21 turbid law origin crystals that were originally embedded on the crown of the princess had shrunk to the size of a tiny diamond. Looking at these broken diamonds, he could feel the pure rule force contained in them. He knew that the sacred sword-hugging queen had purified that trace of pure power of law in the law origin crystal. Originally, the queen's skirt had been formed from the ice flame law, dark death law, and dead dream law. Now, they had taken the form of the frigid snow pine, the dark night calamity crow, and the dream-eating bat. At this moment, the illusory figure came to life. The dark night calamity crow and the dream-eating bat represented darkness and hovered high in the sky. The cold snow pine was like a snowy mountain that was infinitely tall and pierced the sky. As for the willpower from the dark-eyed scorpion tiger and the dark spirit-eyed tadpole, it didn't increase in the slightest after the princess had absorbed the law origin crystals. Instead, after the aura of the law increased, the aura of the willpower both became dormant. They only decorated the inconspicuous parts of the skirt. At that moment, the 2 auras of the law that hovered in the sky suddenly bloomed on the princess's skirt. The auras of the dark night calamity crow and the dream-eating bat kept increasing, and the power of law contained within them instantly became several times stronger. The dark night calamity crow and the dream-eating bat also became more agile due to the increase in the aura of law. Lin Yuan sensed the dark night calamity crow and the dream-eating bat formed by Dead Dream's law rune. He found that the power of law contained within them was already comparable to suzerain/myth 3 endless summers enlightenment law. Obviously, with the nourishment of these 21 law origin crystals, Dead Night and Dead Dream's laws, which were originally on the verge of breaking through, had both broken through. Lin Yuan could not help but sigh. The goal that the Dark Night Calamity Raven and the Dream-Eating Bat had been fighting for all this time had actually been achieved by him in such a way. At this moment, the Sacred Sword Queen opened her eyes and stretched her body in satisfaction. He said to Lin Yuan, "Master, Dark Death's Law and Dead Dream's Law have reached the Myth 3 phase control law intensity. In the future, when using the Holy Sword function, even if the owner uses the blade of the Holy Sword to strike out the Death of Night and Dead Dream laws, the Death of Night and Dead Dream laws won't dissipate. Instead, it can be nourished by the princess's dress and slowly recover its energy." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. He could not bear to consume one law every time he struck with the sacred sword's blade. After all, law crystals were simply too hard to obtain. Lin Yuan asked, "Since the Dark Night Calamity Raven and the Dream-Eating Bats comprehended laws won't dissipate when they reach the Myth 3 level, then the Cold Snow Pine's Ice Flame rune won't dissipate when it reaches the Myth 3 level, right?" The Holy Sword-wielding princess nodded and pointed at her princess robe. "The Sacred Sword Queen's dress has absorbed a complete law. When it reaches the Myth 3 level, it will form a complete totem on the dress. Only the law that forms the totem won't dissipate." Lin Yuan looked in the direction of the Sacred Sword Queen's finger and found that there was indeed a crow and bat totem embroidered on the dress with plain silk thread. Chapter 3. End of this chapter. Chapter 653. Lin Yuan thought that this change might be related to suzerain phase being able to martial body transformation at Myth 3. It was just that the body that had been turned into a weapon had now lost its physical body. Thus, it could only form a totem on the princess' skirt. Lin Yuan pointed at the pile of law crystal fragments and said, "Absorb these two. You should absorb these two." The more law crystals that contained pure power of the law, the better for Lin Yuan. Even if only the mother of Bloodbath and Endless Summer could use them now. Who knew if the others in the mansion, or even he himself, would be able to use them one day? To the princess, there was nothing more joyous than having a meal. As the skirt spun, the 5 piles of law crystal fragments were shaken by the skirt and scattered toward the crown on the princess' head. Immediately after, Lin Yuan noticed that the princess' skirt underwent another drastic change. Under the influence of the 3 piles of horned gray whale law crystal fragments, the skirt turned into layers of waves. In the blink of an eye, the waves turned into a boundless sea. A ferocious insect covered in orange flames was lying on the cold snow pine that was as tall as a snowy peak. The ferocious insect shook its wings and emitted bursts of dragon might. However, it seemed to be very afraid of the dark plague crows and dream-eating bats in the sky and did not dare to rise into the sky. It only dared to lie on the cold snow pine's branches. The orange flames on its body fused with the cold snow pine's ice flames and became very beautiful. 3 shadows suddenly appeared in the ocean formed by the skirt. The 3 shadows grew bigger, and then the huge whale with 3 long horns emerged from the sea. It then smashed into the sea, creating turbulent waves. The huge whale with long horns appeared for a long time, but the waves on the sea had not calmed down. It was as if there were countless undercurrents and whirlpools. At that moment, a faint light appeared in the deep sea, as if it was guiding people into the deep sea. Lin Yuan felt that the Sacred Sword Queen's sacred source life form was strong. It was just the grand world formed by the princess's Luo Kun absorbing the laws within the various law crystals. It gave Lin Yuan a kind of indescribable feeling. It was unknown how many gigantic creatures were contained in the waves formed by the bottom of the skirt. It forcefully bore all the unknown, deep and undetectable. It was as if layers upon layers of mysteries were gathered under each wave. Suddenly, he entered a state of epiphany. The willpower rune related to inclusiveness and vastness, which he had comprehended outside Indigo Azure City at the coastal front sea, condensed in his mind. The vastness of the sea converged from all directions, gathering water from all directions. Lin Yuan did not expect that the 2 willpower runes that he had comprehended would be so powerful. He didn't comprehend the willpower rune that was suitable for genius. Instead, he comprehended the willpower rune that was suitable for Blackie. Lin Yuan was not in a hurry to enhance Blackie into a fantasy breed. Anyway, he could feel that he could comprehend the knowledge willpower rune in his mind that was suitable for genius in these 2 days. At that time, he could strengthen genius and Little Black together and evolve them into fantasy breeds. When the queen finished absorbing the 5 piles of law crystals, Lin Yuan realized that her star class had not advanced from 1 star to 2 star. Looks like I still have a long way to go before I can become a sacred source life form, sacred sword-wielding princess. He did not know when princess would be able to advance to 4 stars and enter the growth stage to unlock new functions. Tomorrow was the opening day of the private territory. Thus, Lin Yuan carried Genius and Chimey to rest early in the morning. However, for one person in the manor, he experienced a qualitative transformation that night. The flying paper fragments condensed into Wen Yu's figure in the Hidden Moon Pavilion. Wen Yu, who had just condensed her figure, panted heavily and sighed. Using the source paper to use the paper dance skill to travel really consumes too much spirit chi. It seems like before becoming a B-rank spirit chi professional, it is more convenient to ride the Sunlight Egret when coming to the Hidden Moon Pavilion. When you rummaged through the Hidden Moon Pavilion's bookshelves and found the information of the Meow family and the Meow family's experts. When you arranged the information and the Meow family's experts on the table. Then, when you said softly, source paper, use the exclusive skill, Heaven Listening Mystic Technique. As Wen Yu's voice echoed, she turned into a huge ancient book. The ancient book flipped and fluttered in the air, causing the paper to dance. As the paper danced, it created a breeze that flipped the Meow family's information and the Meow family's experts on the table. In just a moment, the pile of ancient books and the Meow family's experts on the table was blown to the last page by the breeze. Then, Wen Yu, who had turned into an ancient book, returned to her figure and put her hands on the table. She was obviously very tired. The overdraft of spiritual power made Wen Yu hurriedly sit on the chair, take out the spirit fluid that she had concocted from the face storage box, and drink it. The paper that was originally fluttering fell in an orderly manner beside Wen Yu's hand. The stack of paper was even taller than the Hidden Moon Pavilion's information and the Meow family's experts. Wen Yu thought to herself, the source paper's exclusive skill, Heaven Listening Mystic Technique, consumes more spirit chi than the paper dance skill. However, it is really convenient to organize information and gather intelligence. A smile hung on Wen Yu's pale face due to the overdraft of spiritual power. She was finally becoming more and more useful to Lin Yuan and Sky City. Wen Yu did not know that behind the rows of bookshelves in the Hidden Moon Pavilion, there was a man in a silver robe. The man with a clear and bright look on his face looked at her. When Mystic Moon looked at Wen Yu, especially the source-type source paper that she had contracted, she knew that Lin Yuan valued her very much. In the beginning, as a spirit attendant, Wen Yu was an existence that Mystic Moon would not even look at. After Lin Yuan had named Wen Yu as his assistant, Mystic Moon realized that this girl, who she usually did not look at, was also improving at a speed beyond her understanding. She was also improving at a speed that was beyond her understanding. Mystic Moon still remembered that after being selected as Lin Yuan's assistant, Wen Yu felt that she was not strong enough and insisted on meeting the Moon Empress. She was just a person that Mystic Moon could not see any good points. However, when the Moon Empress asked Mystic Moon to bring Wen Yu, Mystic Moon discovered that Wen Yu had never shown her wisdom that was far beyond ordinary people. Looking at the current Wen Yu, Mystic Moon's original thoughts were stirred again. At that moment, Wen Yu heard a clear laughter coming from beside her. Wen Yu looked up and found Mystic Moon looking at her. Wen Yu hurriedly stood up and greeted. "Greetings, Lady Mystic Moon." When greeting Mystic Moon, Wen Yu was still somewhat perturbed. As the chief supervisor of the Radiant Moon Palace, Mystic Moon was usually in charge of everything in the Radiant Moon Palace for the Moon Empress. Although Wen Yu had come into contact with Mystic Moon many times through Lin Yuan, whenever she faced Mystic Moon alone, Wen Yu still could not help but feel a little nervous. At that moment, Wen Yu was very puzzled. Lady Mystic Moon was usually so busy, but now that she was standing in front of her, it was obvious that she had something to talk to her about. She did not know what it was about. First, even more, begging for monthly votes and recommendation votes. Meow, meow, meow. End of this chapter. Chapter 654. Wen Yu bowed and said when she saw that Xianyu did not speak for a long time, "Lady Black Moon, I've already finished looking up all the information I need to in the Hidden Moon Pavilion. I didn't notice that Lady Mystic Moon was in the Hidden Moon Pavilion before I came in, so I disturbed Lady Mystic Moon. I hope Lady Mystic Moon can forgive me." Xianyu looked at Wen Yu and did not reply immediately. Instead, he casually flipped through the information about the Meow family and the biographies of the experts of the Meow family. His Highness had a conflict with the Meow family? When Wen Yu heard this, she looked at Xianyu with a respectful expression, but she didn't reply. In her heart, she was now Lin Yuan's woman. If Mystic Moon asked about Lin Yuan and the Sky City, Lin Yuan could casually tell her about it. However, without Lin Yuan's permission, she felt that she should not reveal the news about Lin Yuan and Sky City to anyone. Seeing this, Xianyu let out a bright laugh. He looked at Wen Yu with increasing satisfaction. During the New Year's banquet, Mystic Moon had looked at the Moon Empress and Lin Yuan, as though Cold Moon and Chu Ci were deeply in love with each other. He couldn't help but want to take him as his disciple. However, when the thought of accepting a disciple surfaced in her mind, she realized that the only person who appeared in her mind was Wen Yu, who had guided her several times before. Mystic Moon was usually in charge of the Radiant Moon Palace's external affairs, so she was very busy. Thus, Xianyu had never paid much attention to the younger generation. The thought of accepting her as a disciple made Xianyu realize that the only person she could choose and was interested in was Wenyu. In a few days, Xianyu was going to leave for the outer realm and coincidentally bumped into Wenyu. Xianyu felt that it was better to make it even more coincidental. Xianyu had never valued a person's talent. In Mystic Moon's opinion, as long as one could comprehend a willpower rune, everything else could be achieved with resources. Even if the affinity with phase was unorthodox, if there was a top-notch creation master to tailor-make it, it would be much easier. Even a choice of phase would still be limited. In the end, there wasn't much difference between them and those who had a wide range of phase. After all, a person could only contract a limited number of phase. Compared to talent, Xianyu valued Wenyu's intelligence more. She had also displayed her loyalty to Lin Yuan. As one of the two Moon Envoys, no one knew better than Xianyu how much the Moon Empress valued Lin Yuan. Even Sangyu, who was also one of the two Moon Envoys, was not as clear as Xianyu because she had been accompanying Chu Ci in Redbud City for the past few months. In Mystic Moon's heart, she had long acknowledged Lin Yuan as young lord and treated him as her junior. Wenyu was now playing the same role beside Lin Yuan, as Mystic Moon played beside the Moon Empress. Compared to accepting a disciple, Mystic Moon was more willing to pour in effort to nurture a loyal and capable chief butler for Lin Yuan. Just as Wenyu was about to say something, she saw Xianyu smile brightly. Wenyu, how about becoming my disciple? Xianyu's words exploded in Wenyu's ears like a clap of thunder. It could be said that Wenyu respected Xianyu very much, if not for Xianyu's guidance. Even if Wenyu's intelligence was astonishing, she would not have been able to understand it so quickly. During this time, he had been proving his value to Lin Yuan. Although Wenyu had received guidance from Xianyu, she had never dared to think that one day Xianyu would become her master. However, Wenyu, who had grown up in an environment where the Radiant Moon Palace's spirit attendants competed with each other, maintained her original heart despite having good intentions. She did not let her heart be clouded by the competition. However, after so many years of competition, Wenyu understood that opportunities were always given to those who were prepared. Furthermore, there were some opportunities that could be lost in the blink of an eye like the sand between one's fingers. After that, even if he wanted to hold it again, he wouldn't be able to. Wenyu said hurriedly, Lord Mystic Moon, I am willing to be your disciple. Hearing this, Xianyu's usually clear and bright eyes became gentle as she said in a warm voice, Since you are willing, why are you still calling me Lord Xianyu? Wenyu hurriedly corrected herself when she heard this, and she shouted respectfully and solemnly, Master! When Mystic Moon heard Wenyu addressing her as Master, she suddenly felt that she had another responsibility apart from being the Moon Empress Moon Envoy. Xianyu, who had just become Wenyu's master, did not dote on her too much. Instead, her expression immediately turned serious. I will be very strict as your master. In the future, you must learn everything that I teach you. Wenyu heard this and nodded her head vigorously. Wenyu had experienced Mystic Moon's teaching method before. That force-feeding style of education had caused Wenyu, who had just received Mystic Moon's guidance, to have the intention to give up several times. However, after enduring it, Wenyu could actually feel her shocking growth in just a month. Although this growth process was arduous, it was very fulfilling. Wenyu loved this feeling. Wenyu promised, no matter how strict Master is, I will be able to endure it. I will also earnestly learn what Master teaches me. Just as Wenyu's voice fell, she felt a horrifying pressure rising in front of her. The dazzling silver luster was like the reflection of the moon in the water, causing ripples to appear in the space. Wenyu looked up and saw Mystic Moon, who was wearing a silver robe. Her originally black hair had already turned crystal silver. Mystic Moon's face was also covered in silver dragon patterns, and there were two sharp silver horns on her head. When Wenyu saw the two horns on Mystic Moon's head, even though she had a calm personality, she almost exclaimed. Wenyu, who had lived in the Radiant Moon Palace since she was young, did not expect Mystic Moon, or rather, her master, Mystic Moon, to be a fae. just by sensing the dense dragon pressure that erupted from Mystic Moon's body. When you knew that Mystic Moon was a fae with a dragon species bloodline. When you had seen many dragon species faes before, including Zhou Luo's diamond/fantasy breed lava dragon lizard. However, under the dragon species pressure in front of her, the dragon species pressure that when you had felt before was not even qualified to be a reptile. Or rather, the two could not be compared at all, as though they were not the same bloodline. As a creation master, when Yumming guessed that the dragon species bloodline in her master Mystic Moon was no longer as simple as the main dragon species bloodline. The concentration of this bloodline was definitely above the legendary main dragon species bloodline. What happened next made Wenyu, who was already very shocked, widen her eyes even more. She did not expect Lady Mystic Moon to become her path protector after becoming her master. However, Wenyu did not understand why she had heard of swearing with a willpower rune and a law rune. But what was with swearing with a realm? The second was even worse. End of this chapter. Chapter 655. After Mystic Moon became Wenyu's path protector, she retracted her aura. She returned to her original appearance. Mystic Moon said to Wenyu, "I'm leaving for the Outer Realm in 5 days. I'll be leaving for the Outer Realms in 5 days. Stay here with me for the next few days. I'll help you increase your strength too." Wenyu was about to respond when she remembered that Sky City's Star Web private faction territory would be announced the next morning. She was going to the private faction territory with Lin Yuan. So she said to Mystic Moon, "Master, I'm going to Star Web with Lin Yuan tomorrow. I'm going to Star Web with Lin Yuan tomorrow to deal with some matters. That's why I want to tell Lin Yuan first before coming to the Radiant Moon Palace to look for you." Mystic Moon looked at Wenyu with amusement and thought to herself. She only said that she and Lin Yuan were going to Star Web, but she did not say what they were going to do. Do you think I don't know what's going on? 1/3 of Star Web is made up of my sacred source life form, the brain of domination. Mystic Moon thought of Lin Yuan's arrangement of his private faction territory and the people who went to watch the show every day. Mystic Moon found it very interesting. Mystic Moon could not help but wonder how Lin Yuan's brain worked. He actually relied on this method to keep the private faction territory on the visit list before it was announced. It had even been on the private faction territory's hot topic list yesterday. For any private faction territory to be famous, it needed to constantly accumulate popularity and word of mouth. However, Lin Yuan's simple operation had reached a level of popularity that other rising factions could not match even if they worked hard for a decade. If Lin Yuan, who was sleeping, knew what Mystic Moon was thinking, he would be amazed at her imagination. Compared to the idlers who came to watch the show in his private faction territory, Lin Yuan could not understand why there were people in this world who were so bored. Why did his private faction territory have to be laughed at every day without any arrangements? Was it really fun to laugh at others? How could they laugh at his private faction territory that did not have an announcement function? Xianyu raised her hand and a 7-colored ball of light appeared in her hand. "Go and ask Lin Yuan for leave. I will help you form a marrow contract with this sacred source life form now. Only when your strength increases will you be able to help Lin Yuan more." When you heard Mystic Moon's words, she felt that Mystic Moon's words were very reasonable. She picked up her cell phone and prepared to call Lin Yuan. However, when she thought that Lin Yuan might already be asleep at this time, she suddenly had an idea. With a raise of her hand, a piece of paper appeared out of thin air in her hand. Immediately after, the paper condensed into the shape of a paper crane. The paper crane flew with the wind and disappeared in a flash. When you used the paper crane agreement to inform Lin Yuan that she would stay in the Radiant Moon Palace during this period and told him not to worry. Just as the night was about to end, Wenyu, who had been closing her eyes to form a marrow contract with the sacred source life form, suddenly opened them. In an instant, a rhombus-shaped crystal suddenly appeared in the center of her forehead. The inside of the crystal seemed to have a cat's eye pattern. The moment the rhombus-shaped crystal on Wenyu's forehead opened, the veins of the cat's eye seemed to weave a world of dreams. In this world of dreams, there were people sitting in a dream, holding a grand meeting. When Lin Yuan got up, he saw Genius lying on his pillow and looking at him with its round blue eyes. Chimey was still sleeping soundly on Genius's head. From time to time, it would use its feathers to rub against Genius's soft hair. It was very comfortable. Genius was holding a paper crane in its mouth. When it saw that Lin Yuan had woken up, it handed the paper crane to him. Since he had used true data to check when Yu's contract with a source paper, Lin Yuan knew that this was the source paper's ability, paper crane agreement. When he saw the content of the paper crane, Lin Yuan could not help but feel happy for Wen Yu. With Mystic Moon as her master, Wen Yu would undoubtedly learn many things. As Lin Yuan had woken up early, it was only 6 o'clock now. Logically speaking, Lu Jie should have just woken up and had not made breakfast. When Lin Yuan went downstairs, he found Lu Jie and Duan He, who had gone to the listening Heron Chamber Commerce last night, sitting on the sofa with grave expressions. In front of Duan, he was a man who had fainted and was covered in blood. Lin Yuan's brows furrowed. When Duan He and Lu Jie saw Lin Yuan, they did not speak. "What's going on?" Duan He hastily replied. "Last night, you asked me to go to the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce to protect Listen and Zhou Luo. In the end, someone was secretly eavesdropping on their conversation late at night. Although this person's strength hasn't reached the king tier, he's contracted with a diamond tier storm direwolf. His speed is simply too fast. Neither Zhou Luo nor Fei Qianxiong are fast spirit qi professionals. Furthermore, when this person escaped, he also killed 7 or 8 listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's staff. I told Zi Yao to attack, but in the end, Zi Yao was a little too heavy-handed. Listen asked Fei Qianxiong last night, and he said that this person isn't a member of the Iron Wall Chamber of Commerce, so I brought him here." Hearing Duan He's words, Lu Jie frowned. Lu Jie had just gone downstairs to prepare breakfast. When he encountered this matter, he thought that Duan He wanted Lin Yuan to save them. He didn't expect the unconscious man covered in blood to be an enemy spy. Just as Lu Jie was about to speak, Lin Yuan spoke to Duan He. "Senior Duan He, if something like this happens again, don't bring it into the mansion." Lin Yuan's words puzzled Duan He. Then, Duan He heard Lin Yuan speak again. "Chu Si is still young. Senior Duan He saw her last night." Upon hearing that, Duan He immediately scratched his head in embarrassment. Duan He thought to himself that he had been too careless. At this time, Lu Jie had already pulled the person on the ground up and directly carried him to the open space under the cinnabar sweet osmanthus. Lin Yuan looked at the unconscious man covered in blood and waved his hand. A green ray of light landed on the man covered in blood. When Duan He saw that Lin Yuan was treating the man, he said, "Don't worry. This person probably can't be saved." Both of his spirit items were eaten by the purple demon. It's a small matter for the Fei's spirit to be injured after its death, but after being struck by the purple demon's tail whip, apart from the skull, all the other bones should have been broken. With this kind of injury, it would be hard for him not to die. The third one. In a chapter. Chapter 656. Not long after Duan He finished speaking, his eyes widened abruptly. This was because Duan He had discovered that the vitality in the body of the person who was originally only left with a weak aura was slowly becoming richer. Duan He looked at Lin Yuan and felt his face hurting. Duan He went forward to check. When his hand touched the man's body, he discovered that many of the man's broken bones had already grown back together. Duan He looked at Lin Yuan with an increasingly shocked gaze. Previously, Duan He didn't know that Lin Yuan was a healing-type spirit qi professional. Now that he knew, he didn't expect Lin Yuan's healing-type Fei to be so domineering. Even such a serious injury could be healed. Most importantly, he did not summon his Fei, yet it already had such a powerful healing effect. By then, the man on the ground had already woken up. When he saw Duan He instinctively shrunk back. But as he retreated, he slammed into the trunk of the cinnabar sweet osmanthus. This caused the cinnabar sweet osmanthus to scatter a tree of red flowers. The falling petals of the cinnabar sweet osmanthus carried the unique fragrance of the cinnabar sweet osmanthus, and it invigorated the injured man's 2 Feis. Lin Yuan took advantage of the fact that the man had just woken up and was still in a daze, and he was infected by the cinnabar's sweet osmanthus's fragrance. Guanji, who was both clear-headed and confused, asked, "Did the Zheng family's third lineage ask you to investigate the listening heron chamber of commerce?" The middle-aged man said subconsciously, "No, it's second young master." Upon hearing the middle-aged man's words, Lin Yuan raised his brows as expected. At this time, the middle-aged man who had just crawled up from the ground realized that he had said the wrong thing and hurriedly knelt down. "I'll tell you everything you want to know. I can use all the secrets I know to exchange for my life." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan looked at the middle-aged man on the ground and said coldly, "Logically speaking, the person sent by the main bloodline of the Zheng family to gather information shouldn't be someone who would casually leak the information he knows. It seems that people who have died once and come back to life understand the value of life better than ordinary people. Since you understand the value of life, you should know that you have to pay the price for killing many ordinary employees of the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce last night." Lin Yuan ignored the middle-aged man kneeling on him and turned to speak to Duan He. "Senior Duan He, since you brought this person here, I'll leave him to you." After saying that, Lin Yuan turned around and walked into the mansion. Genius used its little head to nudge Lin Yuan's palm and wagged its little tail. In its smart world, it felt that Lin Yuan was extremely handsome. However, Lin Yuan's heart was going through another metamorphosis. When Lin Yuan had been training in the Control Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift, he hadn't shown any mercy to those who wanted to kill him. Those who wanted to kill Lin Yuan were all buried under the rolling yellow sand. Now that Lin Yuan had established a faction, he was no longer one or two people. He could no longer think about problems from a personal point of view. As a force supported by Sky City, it could be said that everyone in the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce, even an ordinary employee, was inextricably linked to Sky City. The Zheng family spies had casually killed nearly 10 employees in the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce, which had hardened Lin Yuan's heart. Lin Yuan understood that no snowflake was innocent in an avalanche. The fixed scale in Lin Yuan's heart suddenly had 2 more chips added to it. These 2 chips were the enemy and himself. After thinking it through, Lin Yuan felt that he had been too passive and soft-hearted in dealing with the Zheng family's matter. Lin Yuan turned his head and said to Duan He, who was outside the door, "Senior Duan He, the Zheng family's territory is in Indigo Azure City. The royal capital is not a place for the Zheng family to behave atrociously." Upon hearing that, Duan He immediately understood what Lin Yuan meant and immediately promised, "Young master, leave this matter to me. Don't worry. After tonight, not a single living member of the Zheng family will exist in the royal capital." At that moment, Lu Jie walked to Lin Yuan's side and said, "That's right. Lin Yuan, we have already formed a grudge with the Zheng family. During the active phase of the dimensional rift, it is impossible for the Zheng family to have any large-scale operations. But there will always be some tricks played behind the scenes. Since Listen wants to develop the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce by taking the route of luxury resources and conducting large transactions of all kinds of luxury resources, we can take the initiative to let the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce declare war on the Zheng family and business." As a Radiance 100 sequence member, Lu Jie might not have joined any faction before, but he understood the cruelty of the struggles between the various factions. In Lu Jie's opinion, since they were going to fight, whoever attacked first would have the upper hand. Lin Yuan had plenty of materials for luxury resources. In terms of production, he also had the support of the Heavenly Craft Pavilion established by the Class 5 Spirit Craftsman, Hu Quan. In the Radiance Federation's huge market, there would never be a shortage of good luxury resources. Even if the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce was only a drop in the bucket compared to the Zheng family, it controlled the 3 aspects of raw materials, processing, and market. There was no possibility of the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce losing. Lu Jie recalled that when he had been tidying up the manor, he had seen 5 to 6 boxes of completely jade-textured wood debris in the storage room. If the Zheng family wanted to rely on the foundation of a veteran faction to fight a price war with the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce, they would have to pay a painful price for their decision. Even if the Zheng family had a strong financial chain, they would still have to pay a painful price for their decision. Those boxes of completely jade-textured wood debris were still being stored in the storage room like garbage. Furthermore, as Huquan used the entire piece of completely jade-textured wood, they were still increasing. Upon hearing Lu Jie's words, Lin Yuan nodded and replied, "Let Listen declare war on the Zheng family." It's possible to let Listen declare war on the Zheng family. However, Uncle Hu's Heavenly Craft Pavilion only has over 33-star spirit craftsmen, which is far from enough. Lin Yuan began to calculate in his heart. According to the current development, there would be more and more places where he would need to use Class 3 spirit craftsmen in the future. Just the construction of the underground space in his return from Faraway Manor and Master Hongshen's residence. There is also the expansion of the guild base and the artificial lake inside the return from Faraway Manor. Even after the spatial tunnel connected to the Divine Wood Federation, Lin Yuan would have to build a base there. The most important thing was the construction of Sky City's main city after the June floating island whale hatched. Each of these required a large number of spirit craftsman resources as support. Moreover, if the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce wanted to rely on luxury resources to become bigger and stronger, it would always need a large number of spirit craftsmen behind it to create for it day and night. It seemed that he should tell Huquan. He should let Huquan visit the spirit craftsman guilds in the Radiance Federation's 32 major cities as a Class 5 spirit craftsman to attract more Class 3 spirit craftsmen. First, more. Seeking recommendation votes. Seeking monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 657. After breakfast, Lin Yuan told Huquan his thoughts. After hearing Lin Yuan's thoughts, Huquan's eyes lit up like light bulbs. When Huquan had established the Heavenly Craft Pavilion, he had wanted to make a name for himself. After all, spirit craftsmen needed to devote their entire lives to pursue an art profession. If they could not be recognized, no matter how much value they created, it would still not be considered a success. With Lin Yuan's support, Huquan felt that the Heavenly Craft Pavilion he had established might be stronger than the Spirit Craftsman Guild in the future. After returning to his room, Lin Yuan logged on to Star Web as Black. After logging into the Star Web, Lin Yuan first informed Tian Ningning about his recent situation. Recently, Lin Yuan's Black identity seemed to have disappeared without a trace. However, Tian Ningning did not become idle because of this. There were simply too many female fans of Black, especially male mothers. These male mothers had green eyes and forcibly made Black's few battle videos remain in the top 100 of the Celestial Stairway video library after so long. Poison Beauty was the one who benefited the most from this. It was just that Poison Beauty, who had benefited so much, was very distressed recently. She did not expect that someone would poach her to conduct luxury goods auctions on StarWeb to be a live streamer selling goods. The other party did not prohibit her from engaging in other live streaming activities. However, if she wanted to sell goods, her live streaming time on the Celestial Stairway would undoubtedly be much less. This was likely to cause Poison Beauty's rising popularity to decrease. Logically speaking, Poison Beauty would refuse such a poaching offer without a second thought. However, the other party's conditions were so generous that she could not refuse at all. During this time, Tian Ningning published a few reports about Black's identity based on the facts. Even though the content of the reports was too plain, it still made Black's fans celebrate the new year. Black's fans were surprisingly satisfied compared to Black's mysterious and low-key past. It was good to see Tian Ningning, a StarWeb exclusive reporter who did not release any hard news, occasionally publish one or two insignificant reports. All of a sudden, the StarWeb, which had been tranquil yesterday, experienced a huge tremor in just one night. On StarWeb, everyone's popularity, including Black's, was suppressed by two young men. One of them was called Lin Yuan, while the other was called Chu Si. Chu Si's performance as a lucky spectator in the All-Star competition was like a powerful slap to the faces of many people who doubted Chu Si's strength. This allowed Chu Si to sit on the throne of the Radiance Federation's #1 genius. He had comprehended 2 willpower runes at a young age and possessed 2 fantasy breed phase. In addition to these hardware conditions, he was also very skilled in combat techniques. When Chu Si fought Dragon Gate's guild leaders Chen Hongfeng, she had been exceptionally calm and composed. She had not panicked in the slightest. It was clear that her fundamentals were very solid. Coupled with her outstanding looks, Chu Si's fame skyrocketed. It even gave Chu Si the vague title of quasi-sequence. Of course, as her reputation soared, her titles of Iron Ox Princess and Iron Ox Valkyrie became more and more resounding. As for Lin Yuan, from his appearance to his contracted phase, everything was a mystery. It could be said that Lin Yuan was a powerful mystery. Mysteries always piqued people's interest. Lin Yuan's mysteriousness aroused the Star Web netizens' desire to explore. Now, many people started to compare Lin Yuan and Black. As they were comparing, they casually pulled over the purchase with no lost store owner, who had previously competed with Black, over as well. Such a comparison caused the fans of the three factions to engage in a chaotic battle. After Lin Yuan finished the 2 Celestial Stairway duels, he felt a little awkward when he saw Tian Ningning's post about the dispute between the three factions' fans. Lin Yuan could not tell Tian Ningning that all 3 of them were him. What was there to compare? Lin Yuan's 2 Celestial Stairway duels gave Tian Ningning work again. After the 2 Celestial Stairway duels, Lin Yuan did not intend to log into Black Star web account in a short time. After dealing with the recent matters, Lin Yuan planned to enter seclusion and strive to become a B-rank spirit chi professional. During this period, Lin Yuan had been busy with all sorts of things and did not have much time to continuously enhance phase. He would use this to increase his strength. Lin Yuan was determined to increase his spirit chi professional rank to B rank before the Radiance 100 sequence. This way, the speed at which he enhanced phase could greatly increase. It allowed him to have more capital to rapidly increase the phase grade and quality. By then, he would be able to go to the Creation Master Association to take the Class 3 Creation Master exam and see if he could become a Class 3 Creation Master. During this period of time, Genius had been learning about Class 3 Fey Observer, Class 3 Spiritual Ingredient Analyst, and Class 3 Scholar on the Star Web. When it was time to take the Class 3 Creation Master exam, Lin Fan would have to be prepared. He still planned to choose the Class 3 Spiritual Ingredient Observer, Class 3 Spiritual Ingredient Analyst, and Class 3 Scholar Lifestyle Class Spirit Chi Professional exams as his prerequisites. After logging into Star Web as a Creation Master, he put on a strange mask with the majestic Sky City pattern. He then entered his purchase with no lost Star Web store to check the amount of Aurora pollen he had exchanged for with the flower brocade pearls. When he left the Star Web, this willpower rune would be formed. As soon as Old Feng finished speaking, he felt his sleeve was suddenly pulled. Old Feng turned his head and looked at Freezing Lung in confusion. Freezing Lung suppressed the shock in his heart and scolded Old Feng in a low voice. F***CK, Old Feng, you better take a good look at that Oath Lily of the Valley. Even if you aren't a Creation Master and are only a B-rank Spirit Chi professional, you are still from the Chamber of Commerce. Don't you have this little bit of foresight? Also, look at the surroundings. Sky City is definitely a goddamn force. Freezing Lung regretted it to death in his heart. Why didn't he seize the opportunity at the beginning? Also, who can tell me what kind of faction this Sky City is? They can even take out a bronze/legend Oath Lily of the Valley. When Old Feng heard Freezing Lung's words, his brows twitched wildly. Then, Old Feng carefully sized up the Oath Lily of the Valley on the table, and then carefully looked at the surroundings. With one look, Old Feng immediately felt dizzy, and his jaw nearly dropped to the ground. There were many people who followed behind Old Feng and Freezing Lung to watch the show. At that moment, their hearts were also trembling. How could a faction that could take out a bronze/legend Oath Lily of the Valley to place in the territory not make a good arrangement outside the territory? The fact that there was no arrangement before could only mean that they didn't have time to set it up. Otherwise, they didn't feel that setting up the outside of the private territory was something that could show off their foundation and reputation. After all, they didn't lack foundation and reputation. Due to this big discovery, many people had already left the Sky City's private territory. They continued to promote Lin Yuan's faction territory like before. Lin Yuan didn't stop them. After checking the visitor records, Lin Yuan opened the message interface. He looked at the official messages that the Starweb officials sent him one after another in surprise. Lin Yuan knew that his private faction, Sky City, had been recently. Perhaps it was because he had entered the private territory and was discovered by others. The visit list's ranking had once again risen. However, Lin Yuan didn't expect Sky City to be ranked 99th on the private territory's popularity list. The popularity list and the visit list were completely different. The visit list was a ranking based on the number of visitors and didn't have much value. After all, some top factions' private territories simply didn't allow others to enter casually. Even the veteran faction, the Aquarium of Bliss, would have attendants receive and manage every person who entered. If there was any dissatisfaction, the attendants would kick the person out of the Aquarium of Bliss private territory and blacklist them. Because of this, some of the truly large forces would not even appear on the friend ranking list. Apart from a few veteran factions, the visit list was mostly a paradise for rising factions. However, the popularity list was different. All the private territories on Starweb would be ranked on the popularity list, which was a very authoritative list. Lin Yuan looked at the popularity list and found that among the top 100 factions on the popularity list, only his Sky City was a rising faction. The top 50 on the popularity list were firmly controlled by 50 top factions. It could be said that the rising Sky City's appearance on such an authoritative list was abnormally abrupt. The popularity list would also be updated every day. Lin Yuan thought to himself, since Sky City is on the popularity list, it can't fall off the popularity list in the future. Lin Yuan used the rights given by Starweb when the private territory was established to announce the Sky City's functions to other private factions. Those who had just left the Sky City's private territory had not had time to spread the internal arrangements of Sky City. Lin Yuan's announcement of the Sky City's private territory's functions exploded among the major factions on Starweb. First, more. Seeking monthly votes for a new month. End of this chapter. Chapter 660. After announcing the Sky City's functions, he took out a stack of white letters. When Lin Yuan hung these letters on the 108 rotating star wheels on the wall, he found that the middle-aged man with a goatee had already walked in front of him with a trembling body. Lin Yuan saw the uncle with the goatee bow and say with trembling lips, "Yes, sir. Big human. I've never been good at talking. I don't even like to hear what you say. I didn't mean to offend you." Old Feng, who was bowing down, really wanted to slap himself in the face. It was one thing for him to gossip behind someone's back, but now he clearly saw the true dragon, but he didn't recognize the true dragon. Instead, he spoke rudely to the true dragon, and the true dragon heard him. This was simply terrible, not to mention that he had just introduced himself. After understanding the Grand Hall's layout, Old Feng couldn't guess how many Creation Master resources were needed to set up such a cloudy sky scene. To think that he had eyes, but failed to see. At first, he had thought that this was a new function on Starweb. This was a grand scene created by over 100 bronze/epic phase. If a faction could take out 100 bronze/epic phase, Old Feng would not be so surprised. Any Apex faction could take out 100 bronze/epic phase. Even some veteran forces that had developed for a period of time could have such a foundation. However, these bronze/epic phase in front of him were all decorative phase and did not possess combat ability. Moreover, they were all repeated existences. This was the same as using the esteemed Creation Masters as spirit craftsmen. Aren't you afraid of shortening your lifespan by doing this? When Lin Yuan heard the middle-aged man's words, he raised his brows and asked, "If it's not on purpose, could it be on purpose?" When Old Feng heard Lin Yuan's clear voice, his back broke out in cold sweat. Old Feng was just about to raise his head and explain when he realized that the masked youth was pruning the newly grown oath lily of the valley. He had no intention of making things difficult for her. Old Feng might only be a B-rank spirit chi professional, and his contracted fae was a gold/epic hand twister viper. However, Old Feng, who came from the Chamber of Commerce, had a keen eye for people. He knew that the masked youth in front of him had a good temper and would not make things difficult for him. Or perhaps the young man in front of him didn't take him seriously at all. Old Feng rolled his eyes and cautiously stepped forward to talk to him. "My lord, this lowly one even said that if your faction needs it, I can lend you a few wondrous stones to build scenery. It seems that you don't need it anymore, my lord. However, out of consideration for our mountain-splitting merchant guild's friendship, can you rent a few things to our mountain-splitting merchant guild? Our Mountain Opener Merchant Association will rent it at market price, and we guarantee that the price will satisfy Lord." Freezing cold, and the onlookers almost sprained their waists at Old Feng's antics. This was simply too shameless. What exactly did you mean by those words back then? Do you really think that this lord can't tell? When Lin Yuan heard Old Feng's words, he nearly choked on his saliva. It was one thing for this person to be old, but how did he become a spirit? At that moment, Lin Yuan finally understood why the Star Web's private faction territory had a function to kick people and add them to the blacklist. Suddenly, the onlookers outside moved to the sides, giving way to the middle of the door. By now, people from other rising forces and even veteran forces had arrived one after another. Outside Fragrant City, a green mountain was shrouded in fog, and the fog carried the fragrance of all sorts of flowers and plants. Fragrant City was located in the south of the Radiance Federation and was connected to Redbud City. However, it wasn't as hot and rainy as Redbud City. However, Fragrant City's year-round spring-like climate was the same as Redbud City's. In this simple and unadorned old wooden residence halfway up the fragrant green mountain, an old woman in a wheelchair with a face full of wrinkles was holding a basket of flower branches on the table. She was selecting fresh flowers to insert into the vase. Beside the old woman was a young woman with waist-length hair. The woman's brows were tightly furrowed, and it was obvious that she was distressed about something. However, the woman forced a smile in front of the old woman and used a knife to sharpen the ends of the flower branches in the basket. It was convenient for the old woman to insert the vase. The old woman glanced at the woman's tightly furrowed brows and spoke in a very gentle and amiable tone. "Ning Xiang, are you still worried about the cooperation with the Miao family's beast creation garden?" The woman called Ning Xiang shook her head gently and quickly changed the topic. "Grandma, your habit of inserting vases has changed recently. In the past, you liked to use the pearl snow from plum blossoms and the frost osmanthus from osmanthus flowers. But now, you like to insert peonies and peonies." When the old woman heard the woman change the topic, she knew that the woman's mind was on the cooperation with the Miao family's beast creation garden. However, since the woman wasn't willing to talk about it, the old woman didn't continue talking about it. Instead, she followed the woman's topic. "I'm getting old. Compared to those exquisite small flowers, I now like these big flowers that I thought were vulgar when I was young. I've been inserting flowers for my entire life, and I understand a principle. All flowers bloom and wither. It's just a matter of time. Our Sun family's Do Immortal Garden is the same. It will wither if it blooms for too long. Ning Xiang, you don't have to take it to heart." Upon hearing the old woman's words, Sun Ning Xiang's eyes suddenly turned red. The Do Immortal Garden Sun family had too few people. Only her grandmother, herself, and her 5-year-old brother were left. When she was young, the Do Immortal Garden had been extremely powerful and had been one of the top factions. However, after her grandfather had died 3 years ago, the Do Immortal Garden's 3 Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Masters had led a large number of experts to seize power. Her grandmother had single-handedly stopped them, but her grandmother's soul spirit had been severely injured. However, Grandma's soul was severely damaged, and her entire body, except for her hands, was destroyed. Due to the departure of the 3 Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Masters, the Dew Immortal Garden no longer had any top-notch Creation Masters. Under such circumstances, if they couldn't cooperate with the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden, the Dew Immortal Garden would fall for being a top-notch faction in just a few years. However, the conditions given by the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden were too harsh. If they cooperated with the Beast Creation Garden according to the conditions given by the Meow family, the Dew Immortal Garden might be able to maintain its glory for a while. However, it wouldn't choose to die a quick death into a slow death. Sun Ningxiang didn't want to do such a business where she had to die just to survive. But where could she find a new way out? Second update, asking for monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 661. Seeing the expression on the woman's face, the old woman sighed. Ningxiang, do you still not understand a principle? The true pillar of a top force is never the so-called resources, but the Emperor-class powerhouses. My soul is injured, and my body is unable to move. Forcefully hanging on to life is like a candle that is about to go out. But as long as I don't die and my contracted Fae is still around, no one will be able to pull the Dew Immortal Garden down from its position as a peak faction. But with my condition, I can only hold on for another year at most. A year later, even if the Sun family's Dew Immortal Garden and the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden form a close partnership, the Dew Immortal Garden will not be able to escape its fate. Hearing this, Sun Ningxiang's tears rolled down her cheeks as she choked with sobs. Grandma, even if I have to sell the entire Dew Congealing Immortal Garden, I will find someone to cure your illness. The old woman stretched out her wrinkled hand to wipe Sun Ningxiang's tears and said kindly, since a girl has decided to stand up for herself, don't let your tears flow out easily. If you really want to cry, just keep in your heart. Ningxiang, in the future, you'll have to take care of your little brother, Xiao Liufu. As she spoke, the old woman sighed inwardly. If my illness was so easy to cure, why would there be so many pairs of eyes that would dare to covet the Dew Immortal Garden? At this moment, light footsteps and 2 excited exclamations came from outside the door. Old madam, young lady, a faction has suddenly appeared on Starweb. Excited shouts came from outside the door, and Sun Ningxiang couldn't help but facepalm. These 2 maidservants were used to being wild at her place, but now that they were at her grandmother's place, they couldn't stop. Sun Ningxiang shouted towards the door. Taoyao, Xinghua, this is the old residence where Grandma is recuperating, not the headquarters of the Dew Congealing Immortal Garden. It's not your place to disturb Grandma's recuperation. The footsteps outside the door gradually increased, and at this time, the figures of 2 women appeared at the door. One of the 2 women was dressed in pink, while the other was dressed in yellow. They looked quite similar. When the 2 of them heard Sun Ningxiang's words, they immediately realized that they had been too excited when they saw the news on Starweb. Tao Yao and Xing stuck out their tongues and hurriedly bowed to the old woman. Sun Ningxiang looked at the 2 and asked, "What's so surprising about a faction suddenly appearing on Starweb? The 2 of you have been managing the Starweb's Dew Immortal Garden's territory for quite some time. Is there not a day when 2 private forces are established?" Peach Demon and Xing hurriedly replied, "Young lady, this newly established faction's function is to create high-quality bronze phase according to the law rune. This faction must have plenty of Creation Master resources." Hearing this, Sun Ningxiang stood up and said to the old woman beside her, "Grandma, I'm going to take a look at the Starweb now. I'll arrange flowers with you when I come back." He watched as Sun Ningxiang quickly walked back to her room and entered the Starweb. The old woman silently lowered her head to look at her palm, softly muttering, "I have never believed in fate, but now I can only pray for the blessing of fate. How great would it be if someone could cure this old body's illness?" More and more people came to Sky City's private territory. Slowly, the entrance of the hall became a little crowded. Lin Yuan looked at the crowd at the entrance of the hall. Suddenly, he saw a woman with waist-length hair and a plain white dress standing in the crowd. She was very eye-catching. This woman had a special aura. This aura was inexplicably familiar to Lin Yuan. It was very similar to Gao Feng's aura. It was a kind of noble aura that could only be born under the influence of a solid foundation. This woman with waist-length hair and a plain white dress should not have a simple identity. At that moment, Pi Qiao, who was wearing a long pink dress, saw Lin Yuan's gaze land in Sun Ningxiang's direction. She tilted her head and whispered in Sun Ningxiang's ear, "Young lady, look at the guy wearing a strange mask sitting at the table looking at you." Sun Ningxiang didn't respond to Pi Qiao's words. Instead, she shifted her gaze away from the bronze/legend Oath Lily of the Valley. In an instant, Sun Ningxiang's gaze met with Lin Yuan's. Then, Sun Ningxiang nodded gently at Lin Yuan and withdrew her gaze without leaving a trace. She asked Xinghua, who was wearing a yellow dress, "Xinghua, what level do you think Sky City's newly established faction can reach?" Xinghua, who was wearing yellow dress, pushed up the glasses on the bridge of her nose and replied seriously, "Young lady, just based on the layout, Sky City's lower limit is that of a top emerging faction. As for the upper limit, Xinghua is a little uncertain." When Pi Qiao heard Xinghua's words, she could not help but interrupt. Just the 108 stalks of bronze/epic starlight grass and 36 bronze/epic floating cloud flowers used here, as well as the completely jade-textured wood used to carve the roulette shouldn't be as simple as a top up-and-coming force, right? Moreover, there's also a bronze/legend Oath Lily of the Valley. I think just based on this layout, it can already be called the standard of a veteran faction. Upon hearing that, Xinghua replied very seriously, "Big sister, young lady's question naturally has to be answered seriously. The things that Sky City's Star Web can display might not necessarily exist in reality. What if it is rented? But even if it can rent so many things, it is at least at the level of a top emerging faction." When Sun Ningxiang heard Xinghua's words, her eyes flickered. Sun Ningxiang knew that Xinghua had always been cautious with her words, but the moment Sun Ningxiang met Lin Yuan's eyes, she could see the calmness in his eyes. A person with this kind of gaze must have a lot of confidence in his heart. However, just by looking at the layout, Sun Ningxiang wasn't sure how many Creation Master resources the Sky City had. Even if Sky City had Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Master resources, if there weren't enough high-end Creation Master resources, it would only be able to quench the dew parterre's thirst temporarily. It could not solve the fundamental problem of the dew congealing Immortal Garden. When Pi Qiao saw that Sun Ningxiang was so concerned about Sky City, she knew that Sun Ningxiang hoped to borrow Sky City's Creation Master resources. As one of Sun Ningxiang's people, Tao Yao was very clear about the problems that dew condensation Immortal Garden was facing. Tao Yao whispered to Sun Ningxiang, "Miss, do you want me to introduce myself now and see if there's a chance of cooperation?" Sun Ningxiang pondered for a moment and said, "On the Star Web, when a new faction announces its functions, it's bound to reveal some of its sharpness. Even if we want to introduce ourselves, there's no rush. Let's wait and see first." The third one. End of chapter. Chapter 662. Lin Yuan looked at the factions that had arrived and introduced themselves. Those top veteran factions are really arrogant to be able to put on airs. Although there were veteran forces among the forces present, these veteran forces had only recently risen from the ranks of emerging forces. Despite having the strength of veteran factions, they still lacked a lot of resources. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly heard someone exclaim at the door, "The Aquarium of Bliss, a top veteran faction, is actually here." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan looked toward the door. He saw a man in a blue robe sizing up the surroundings. Lin Yuan raised his brows when he saw this blue-robed man. He and this blue-robed man were really fated. Back when he had gone to the Sea of Bliss, he had been kicked out by this blue-robed man. However, at that time, he had been standing in the Sea of Bliss's territory, and now the Sea of Bliss was standing in his territory. Lin Yuan saw this blue-robed man walk straight toward him after checking the surroundings. Upon seeing the blue-robed man walking over, Old Feng, who had a goatee, hurriedly moved to the side. He shifted his position to the blue-robed man. After all, The mountain opening chamber of commerce's top veteran faction, the Sea of Bliss, was an existence that they could not afford to offend. Lin Yuan heard the blue-robed man speak to him. "Are you Sky City's steward? If it's convenient, the Sea of Bliss would like to discuss a collaboration with Sky City." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan's fingers gently stroked the table. Gao Feng was prepared to deal with the Sea of Bliss. He also planned to use the flower brocade pearls in his inventory to quietly monopolize the aurora pollen in the market. If the Sea of Bliss angelfish were flowers, then the aurora pollen would be the soil to nurture the flowers. His act of monopolizing the aurora pollen was tantamount to cutting off the Sea of Bliss path of retreat. At such a time, the Sea of Bliss's people wanted to discuss a collaboration with him. Lin Yuan could not help but feel that it was very interesting. Lin Yuan nodded gently at the blue-robed man. If other veteran factions wanted to cooperate with him at this time, he would not even think about it and would reject them. After all, he planned to enter seclusion for a period of time to raise his spirit chi professional rank. Moreover, when Duan helped him collect law origin crystals, he also needed to take out bronze/epic phase to exchange. Although Lin Yuan's faction, Sky City, had the ability to take out bronze/epic phase, Sky City was not a match for Lin Yuan's faction. But in the end, Lin Yuan was only providing the production capacity. With such an ability, he could make a lot of money no matter what, so there was no need to cooperate with other factions. However, he was not in a hurry to reject the Blissful Sea Tribe's cooperation. Instead, he wanted to know what the Blissful Sea Tribe wanted to cooperate with him. When the blue-robed man saw that Lin Yuan only nodded slightly and did not answer his question, he frowned. He felt that the masked young man in front of him was too arrogant. However, when the blue-robed man recalled the bronze/epic phase and the bronze/legend Oath Lily of the Valley on the table, he replied patiently, "We, the Sea of Bliss, would like to offer you in order to upgrade the grade of the Angelfish of Bliss. If you help us, the Sea of Bliss, improve the grade of the Angelfish of Bliss, we will pay you accordingly." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan's fingers gently tapped on the table, emitting a soft do-do sound. He pondered for a moment and said, "It isn't a simple task to upgrade the Angelfish of Bliss's quality. It requires high-ranked creation masters' resources. If your Blissful Sea Tribe doesn't want to cooperate with other forces, I'm afraid that no force would be willing to accept you, right?" Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the blue-robed man's expression became a little awkward. The Sea of Paradise's development had been restricted for the past few years, and a large part of the reason was that the Sea of Paradise didn't have enough high-rank creation master resources to support them. Moreover, they had yet to find a suitable partner to help the Blissful Ocean Tribe improve their Angelfish of Blissful. This caused the Blissful Sea Tribe to be unable to take another step forward. When the blue-robed man saw that Lin Yuan didn't reject him directly, he quickly said, "That's right. What kind of reward do you need? Just tell me. As long as it's not an exorbitant demand, our Sea of Bliss Tribe can accept it." Upon hearing the conversation between Lin Yuan and the blue-robed man, Sun Ningxiang, who was standing at the side, revealed a playful expression. She looked at Lin Yuan and then at the blue-robed man beside Lin Yuan. As soon as Lin Yuan mentioned price instead of reward, Sun Ningxiang knew that Lin Yuan had enmity toward the Sea of Bliss Tribe. Normal people wouldn't think much of such subconscious words. However, the Dew Immortal Garden was mediating with the various top factions, especially with the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden. Sun Ningxiang had already become a master of words. At that moment, Lin Yuan silently pondered in his heart. Every 40 minutes, he would be able to upgrade a normal I/normal Fey to bronze I/epic. If he could directly upgrade a bronze/flawless Fey, he would only need about 20 minutes to upgrade the bronze/flawless Fey to epic if he did not increase its grade. It wouldn't take too long for Lin Yuan. Furthermore, the Sea of Bliss Tribe did indeed have something that Lin Yuan wanted. If the Sea of Bliss Tribe is willing to pay a sufficient price, the order is not impossible. It's just that Sky City doesn't like to accept small orders that aren't profitable. Therefore, The order to upgrade the Angelfish of Bliss quality is limited to Bronze Angelfish of Bliss. Lin Yuan's words immediately made the blue-robed man's face filled with surprise. It also made everyone present, including Sun Ningxiang, reveal an astonished expression. If a top-notch veteran faction like the Sea of Bliss tribe wanted to talk about cooperation, they naturally wouldn't go through all the trouble to talk about upgrading Bronze phase from elite to flawless. Even so, this masked youth could still casually say that he would only accept orders for Bronze phase. Furthermore, he wouldn't accept small orders that weren't profitable. What kind of confidence did he have? That's way too awesome. Sun Ningxiang's mind couldn't help but become a little active. At the same time, Sun Ningxiang truly didn't want Sky City to cooperate with the Sea of Bliss tribe. If Sky City and the Sea of Bliss tribe were to cooperate, it would be the same as taking away a portion of Sky City's high-class Creation Master resources. When the Dew Immortal Garden and Sky City talked about cooperation again, the high-class Creation Master resources that Sky City could provide would be reduced. This made Sun Ningxiang, who was in urgent need of Creation Master resources, feel as though she had eaten a fly. Furthermore, this fly was stuck in her throat and couldn't be swallowed. Exploding the 4th chapter, asking for monthly votes. Sob, sob, sob. End of this chapter. Chapter 663. However, before the blue-robed man could be pleasantly surprised for a few seconds, Lin Yuan spoke again. It's meaningless to upgrade Bronze/Elite to Bronze/Flawless. Therefore, our order is to upgrade the Bronze/Flawless Angelfish of Bliss to Epic. In that case, for every Bronze/Flawless Angelfish of Bliss to Legend, the Sea of Bliss tribe will have to pay me 1 Platinum/Supreme Grade Angelfish of Bliss. As for the quality of the Platinum/Flawless Angelfish of Bliss, it will depend on the Sea of Bliss tribe's sincerity in our upcoming cooperation. Lin Yuan's words were no different from asking for an exorbitant price. Although the Sea of Bliss tribe sold the young Angelfish of Bliss, they rarely sold the adult Angelfish of Bliss. Moreover, the adult Angelfish that Lin Yuan wanted were Platinum/Supreme Grade Angelfish of Bliss. Under normal circumstances, the Sea of Bliss tribe had strict control over the Supreme Grade Angelfish of Bliss. After most of the Supreme Grade Angelfish of Bliss were nurtured to Platinum by the Sea of Bliss tribe, they would start to collect fish coats for sale. Even if some buyers could obtain Supreme Grade Angelfish of Bliss from the Sea of Bliss tribe, they would need to purchase a large number of Immortal Bliss plates. According to the Sea of Bliss tribe's rules, they would have to pay for the 1,000 inferior Angelfish of Bliss. If they were lucky, they would need to spend close to 10 million Radiance dollars to obtain a Supreme Grade Angelfish of Bliss. Lin Yuan's request could be said to shake the Sea of Bliss tribe's foundation. Just as the blue-robed man was about to refuse, Lin Yuan spoke again. As far as I know, the quality of the fish coats produced by Bronze/Epic Angelfish of Bliss will be very different when they reach Platinum. Moreover, as a breeding fish, a Bronze Angelfish of Bliss will have a higher chance of giving birth to a Supreme Grade Angelfish of Bliss. Lin Yuan's words made the blue-robed man's refusal stuck in his throat. However, Lin Yuan had yet to finish his words. Angelfish of Bliss can enter the pregnancy period at Bronze and lay eggs. If you have a Bronze/Flawless female Angelfish of Bliss that is pregnant, I can also promote it to Epic. However, the quality improvement during the pregnancy period isn't stable. If the Angelfish of Bliss drops from Epic to Flawless after laying eggs, I won't care anymore. Hearing this, the blue-robed man's eyes lit up with surprise again. Just as he was about to agree subconsciously, he remembered that this matter was of great importance and that he did not have the right to do so. The blue-robed man hurriedly said to Lin Yuan, "Wait a moment, I'll go ask for instructions now." Although the blue-robed man said he was asking for instructions, the expression on his face made it seem like he was asking for credit. If a Bronze/Flawless Angelfish of Bliss wanted to evolve to Epic quality during the gestation period, it had to be operated by a Class 4 Creation Master. The difficulty was equivalent to upgrading an ordinary Bronze/Flawless Angelfish of Bliss to Epic by 3 times. Raising the bronze angelfish of bliss to epic grade during the gestation period would increase the possibility of bronze angelfish of bliss giving birth to premium angelfish of bliss. Seeing how happy the blue-robed man was, Lin Yuan, who was a 1,000-layer cake, started to plot against the blissful sea tribe. The angelfish of bliss was not only able to produce a precious spiritual ingredient like fish skin, but was also an extremely greedy fish fae. Her beautiful appearance was completely dependent on the nutrients obtained from the aurora pollen. The beautiful appearance of the angelfish of bliss would lose its luster if it went hungry. 2 days of starvation might cause a delicate and fragile fae like the angelfish of bliss to die. The angelfish of bliss didn't excrete, and the fish skin that was shed was actually the metabolic product of the angelfish of bliss. Lin Yuan had witnessed how much the angelfish of bliss could eat. When Gao Feng had transported the 30 angelfish of bliss to him, he had sprinkled 5 caddies of aurora pollen inside. When it was transported through ostrich logistics, there was only slightly more than 500 caddies of aurora pollen left in the Fey storage box. The reason why Lin Yuan was willing to accept the Blissful Sea Tribe's order was to turn the Blissful Sea Tribe's 1-layered scheme into a 3-layered scheme. The first layer of the scheme was the aurora pollen that Lin Yuan had originally intended to monopolize. The second layer of the scheme required Lin Yuan to complete the first layer of the scheme before he could execute it. Once the second layer of the scheme was executed, it would be a devastating blow to the Blissful Sea Tribe. Lin Yuan was helping the Blissful Sea Tribe to nurture breeding fish and upgrade the bronze angelfish of bliss to epic quality. This was equivalent to increasing the number of angelfish of bliss that the Blissful Sea Tribe possessed in a short period of time. As the pregnant angelfish of bliss laid a large number of eggs, after a period of development, the angelfish of bliss would face an explosive growth. The growth of the angelfish of bliss would cause the Blissful Sea Tribe's demand for aurora pollen to increase significantly. This period of time was enough for Lin Yuan to complete the first layer of the scheme. After giving birth, the female angelfish of bliss and the newly hatched angelfish of bliss would be abnormally weak and would die easily. This was also the reason why, even though each pregnant female angelfish of bliss could lay so many eggs, the Blissful Sea Tribe would not be able to nurture many angelfish of bliss that could be sold every year. This was the stage where Lin Yuan would unleash his power against the Blissful Sea Tribe's first layer of the scheme. However, Lin Yuan understood that no matter how much he monopolized the aurora pollen, he could not guarantee that there would be no aurora pollen in the market. Moreover, it was impossible for the Blissful Sea Tribe to not have any aurora pollen in stock. However, since the Blissful Sea Tribe had such a huge demand for aurora pollen, even if the aurora pollen's price fluctuated a little, it would be a huge blow. Moreover, with Lin Yuan's monopoly, even if the Blissful Sea Tribe took out a large number of radiance dollars, they might not be able to buy enough aurora pollen to meet their internal demand. At that time, the Blissful Sea Tribe's angelfish of bliss would die due to the lack of aurora pollen. As for how the Blissful Sea Tribe would choose and which angelfish of bliss to protect, it was not something that Lin Yuan needed to consider. The second layer of the scheme would cause great damage to the Blissful Sea Tribe. However, this second layer of the scheme was not the end. Lin Yuan's third layer of the scheme was the real finishing touch. Lin Yuan would increase the quality of the Blissful Sea Tribe's angelfish of bliss during the pregnant period. Even if these angelfish of bliss increased their quality, they would still drop after laying eggs. This would not increase the Blissful Sea Tribe's foundation. Behind each transaction, Lin Yuan would be able to obtain an adult platinum supreme grade angelfish of bliss from the Blissful Sea Tribe. It was equivalent to plundering a part of the Blissful Sea Tribe's foundation. Such an operation was also equivalent to subtly influencing the Blissful Sea Tribe's fish coat business. First update, asking for monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 664. Lin Yuan was confident that with just these 3 layers of tricks, he would be able to turn a veteran faction like the Blissful Sea Tribe into a half-dead state. The half-dead blissful sea tribe could be handed over to his good brother, who was also his partner, Gao Feng, to deal the final blow. After a short while, the blue-robed man returned to Lin Yuan and said, "I've asked for your permission. I've already asked for your permission. However, every bronze/flawless supreme-grade blissful angelfish in the gestation period is the wealth of the blissful sea tribe. What if the breeding fails?" Lin Yuan scratched the hair on the back of his head. He wanted to fail. However, with the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone and the Mountain River Eternal Life Carp's exclusive skill, Place of Life, he could not fail even if he wanted to. If something happens to every bronze/flawless supreme-grade blissful angelfish in the gestation period, I can compensate the blissful sea tribe with 5 bronze/epic supreme-grade blissful angelfish in a normal state. The blue-robed man had a bright smile on his face. In that case, let's establish a cooperation in reality and swear on the willpower rune. Before the blue-robed man could finish his words, Lin Yuan interrupted him. An oath is not a complete guarantee for this kind of cooperation. If the blissful sea tribe is willing to sacrifice you, won't your oath be useless? We can sign a contract and bring it to the spirit guards for notarization. When something happens to either party, the other party doesn't need to waste any effort. The spirit guards will immediately take action to resolve it. In order to express our sincerity, the spirit guards will pay for the notarization fee. Lin Yuan's words made the blue-robed man feel very awkward, but it also made him feel much more assured. There was nothing in this world that was more assured than notarization in the spirit guards. After finalizing the cooperation, the blue-robed man was preparing to return to the blissful sea tribe to receive the reward and praise. He did not expect to be stopped by Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan asked, "Does the blissful sea tribe have Aurora Morning Glory?" The blue-robed man's mind was already on the reward and praise when he returned, so he asked without any hesitation, "What's so good about the Aurora Morning Glory?" "It takes a year for it to produce pollen. Growing my own Aurora Morning Glory is simply a thankless task. Moreover, the Aurora pollen has very few uses, and it's never out of stock on the market. We, the blissful sea tribe, have never needed to spend any effort on the Aurora pollen." Upon hearing that, the corners of Lin Yuan's mouth raised into a happy arc. The finalization of the deal between Lin Yuan and the blissful sea tribe made everyone look at Lin Yuan differently. At first, everyone was only surprised by the layout of the Sky Castle. But now, Sky City had decided to cooperate with the blissful sea tribe. In everyone's hearts, the Sky City was on the same level as the blissful sea clan, a top veteran force. As for Sun Ningxiang, she could vaguely tell from Lin Yuan's words that Lin Yuan's purpose for the blissful sea tribe was definitely not as simple as cooperation. Just based on this simple conversation, Sun Ningxiang simply could not figure out what exactly Lin Yuan was planning. When she recalled that Lin Yuan had seemingly asked about the Aurora Morning Glory in a casual manner, Sun Ningxiang focused her attention on the Aurora Morning Glory. Although the Dew Immortal Garden was in turmoil, it was still a peak force. A centipede dies, but doesn't fall down. The Dew Congealing Immortal Garden still had a dominant position in the market for plants and spirit materials produced from plants and spirit materials. The Dew Congealing Immortal Garden had a large number of Aurora Morning Glories. It could be said that 1/3 of the Aurora pollen on the market was produced by the Dew Congealing Immortal Gardens plantation. Sun Ningxiang glanced at Tao Yao as she spoke. Pay attention to the situation of the Aurora Morning Glory and Aurora pollen in the market. Also, get the Dew Immortal Gardens plantation to stop selling this year's matured Aurora pollen. Tao Yao didn't understand why Sun Ningxiang would make such an arrangement, but she wouldn't question Sun Ningxiang's decision. "Yes, Mississippi. Why go back today? I will order people to pay attention to the flow of Aurora petunia and Aurora pollen in the market, and give instructions to the small plantations. If there is any abnormality in the flow of Aurora petunia and Aurora pollen in the market, I will inform Miss immediately." The yellow-dressed Xing Guo looked at Sun Ningxiang before looking at Lin Yuan, who was seated at a distant table. He seemed to understand Sun Ningxiang's meaning. However, He also felt that his young miss, Sun Ningxiang, was being overly sensitive. Xingwu whispered, "Miss, I said before that the lowest level of Sky City is an emerging force. Now, I think that Sky City is at least a top-notch veteran force like the blissful Oceanic clan." Hearing this, Sun Ningxiang nodded noncommittally. Based on Lin Yuan's previous attitude toward the Blissful Sea Tribe and the trace of scheming against the Blissful Sea Tribe in Lin Yuan's words, Sun Ningxiang deduced that the Blissful Sea Tribe was the Blissful Sea Tribe. He knew that Sky City, a newly established private force, must be as powerful as the Blissful Sea Tribe. They might even be stronger than the Blissful Sea Clan. A leopard could scheme against a leopard, and a lion could also scheme against a leopard. But a mouse couldn't scheme against a leopard no matter what. Sometimes, scheming itself represented a kind of contempt. It was just like how the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden was plotting against his due Immortal Garden. He looked at the time and was not prepared to wait for the other factions to arrive. Instead, he said directly, "Everyone has been here for so long. I'm sure that apart from those who are here to watch the show, there are also some friends who are here to show their support after seeing Sky City's newly announced function. In that case, those friends who are here to show their support can go to these 108 star wheels and draw a fate letter. Each of the 108 star wheels has a fate letter hanging on it. There are a total of 108 fate letters. Out of the 108 fate letters, only one of them has a white card. The cards in the other 107 letters are all black. Since Sky City's private faction territory has just announced its function, you don't need to pay a special price to draw a fate letter this time. However, in the future, each fate letter will be drawn at a price of 300,000 Radiance dollars. After paying the price of 3 source-type items, the person who draws the white card of the fate letter can customize a bronze/epic fey that fits the willpower rune. You don't need to provide any spiritual ingredients to customize a bronze/epic fey. All the consumption will be provided by Sky City. However, after completing the transaction, the person or faction that orders the bronze/epic fey will have to issue an exchange oath in the Oath Lily of the Valley. My Sky City can trade any spiritual material or fey that you have with you according to the market price. After completing a trade, the oath of exchange will be canceled. The second one was even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 666. The purple-robed man's expression turned cold as he spoke in a cold voice. This is the first time I've heard of a faction daring to say that the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden is not refined. Sun Ningxiang, who was standing in the crowd, took a deep look at Lin Yuan and let out a sigh of relief. The cooperation between the Dew Immortal Garden and the Beast Creation Garden is destined to be impossible. The cooperation between the Dew Immortal Garden and the Beast Creation Garden is equivalent to the Beast Creation Garden absorbing the Dew Immortal Garden's blood and using the Dew Immortal Garden's flesh to nourish the Beast Creation Garden. Since this youth wearing a strange mask has such confidence to go against the Beast Creation Garden, it at least means that Sky City is not afraid of the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden. At this time, Sun Ningxiang had made up her mind to strive for cooperation with Sky City. This was the best opportunity. Sun Ningxiang tilted her head and gave some instructions to Tao Yao, who was wearing a pink dress. When Tao Yao heard Sun Ningxiang's words, her eyes were filled with shock. She asked in disbelief, "Miss, are you sure you want to do this? This is equivalent to falling out with the Meow family." What if Tao Yao was interrupted by Sun Ningxiang before she could finish her sentence? Grandma is right. As long as she is here, the Dew Immortal Garden will not fall from the top faction. Even if we cooperate with the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden now, the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden will change from a hypocritical partner to a ravenous wolf after a year. Therefore, falling out with them won't change much. Sometimes, we need to make a bet to get a chance to break the deadlock. Tao Yao nodded seriously and said in a deep voice, "Miss, leave it to me. Leave it to me, Mississippi." Before the sturdy purple-robed youth could wait for Lin Yuan's reply, he heard a delicate shout. "You're only wearing a green dog chain around your neck, but you're still talking about the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden. I've only heard fishermen praise their fish ponds for being beautiful. I've never heard of the mud at the bottom of the pond praising the pond." This shout caused the gazes of everyone present to involuntarily shift towards the pink-clothed Tao Yao. The veins on the purple-robed youth's forehead bulged as he looked in the direction of the shout. With a single glance, he saw Tao Yao, Sun Ningxiang, and Xingwu beside her. The purple-robed man was stunned. The reason why the purple-robed man was stunned was not because he found Sun Ningxiang and her two maids here. Instead, he was surprised by the attitude of Sun Ningxiang's maid towards him. Sun Ningxiang was at the side, and it was clear that all of this was under Sun Ningxiang's orders. The Sun family had always been seeking cooperation with the Beast Creation Garden. Why did they suddenly change their attitude? The sturdy purple-robed youth glared at Tao Yao and said to Sun Ningxiang, "Sun Ningxiang, what is the meaning of this?" Sun Ningxiang tucked a strand of hair on her forehead behind her ear and said unhurriedly, "That's exactly what it means. As a member of a top force, haven't you heard of the saying that bloodline is a chasm? Are you even worthy of calling me, Sun Ningxiang, by my name? No matter what, the Sun family is still a top force. I am a direct descendant of the Sun family, so I can mobilize everything in the Sun family. As a branch descendant of the Miao family, you should be here with a mission, right? Even if the owner of this place says that you are not a refined guest, you cannot leave. As a branch descendant, if I don't complete the mission, no matter how much the direct descendant values me, I will still be punished." Feeling the gazes from all around, the muscles of the sturdy purple-robed man started to spasm. He was wearing the Beast Creation Garden's 100 Beast new seedling attire, and he was respected everywhere he went. However, he was actually being insulted by Sun Ningxiang here, and he couldn't even retort. As a valued branch descendant of the Miao family, he naturally knew that the Miao family was coveting the Sun family's due immortal garden. If he said anything here and caused Sun Ningxiang to give up on the due immortal garden and not cooperate with the Beast Creation Garden, not only would he be punished, but his entire branch would also be implicated. At this moment, the most confused person was Lin Yuan. Where did these two girls with bad breath come from? But they stink pretty well. As the saying went, one always had a goal in everything they did. It seemed that this Sun Ningxiang, a direct descendant of the Sun family, was looking for him for something. Now that Sun Ningxiang had rashly interfered in the conflict between him and the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden, she was expressing goodwill to him. Lin Yuan didn't know these three girls in reality. At present, Lin Yuan had only revealed his Creation Master resources. It seemed like the Sun family was also very interested in his Creation Master resources, just like the Blissful Sea clan. Lin Yuan originally didn't have any intention of cooperating with other factions. However, if a top faction took the initiative to express goodwill, Lin Yuan wouldn't reject it. Lin Yuan and Gao Feng's relationship allowed Lin Yuan to borrow the Gao family's resources to a certain extent. Up until now, Lin Yuan had been able to accumulate resources so quickly. To a large extent, it was related to the few young elemental shellfish that he had obtained from Gaofeng. With the young elemental shellfish from Gaofeng, Lin Yuan could use the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone to turn the elemental shellfish into an ATM that could continuously produce elemental pearls. Even Lin Yuan's greatest fortuitous opportunity, the floating island whale, had been traded from Gaofeng. Being on good terms or cooperating with a top faction was equivalent to being able to absorb this top faction's resources. Lin Yuan thought to himself, as a top faction, the Sun family should have a lot of Law Origin crystals in storage. Ever since he found out about the Law Origin crystals, after the Sacred Sword-wielding queen absorbed the Law Origin crystals, the complete laws in her skirt had improved. Lin Yuan was focused on collecting Law Origin crystals as soon as possible. There were a total of 3 reasons. The first reason was to quickly raise the Sacred Sword-wielding queen's grade. The second reason was to collect law crystals that contained pure power of laws. The third reason was to raise the 3 complete laws in the Sacred Sword-wielding queen's skirt. Since the Sacred Sword-wielding queen's skirt could raise the pinnacle of Myth 2 to Myth 3, Lin Yuan believed that as long as there were enough Law Origin crystals, the Cold Flame Law, Night Death Law, and Dead Dream Law in the sacred sword-wielding queen skirt could break through the limits of myth breeds. They could be raised to the strength that a creation breed, Fae, could comprehend. However, since he might cooperate with the girl with the bad breath, he had to first whet her appetite. It would make the girl with the bad breath anxious and give her a sense of crisis from the bottom of her heart. After all, there was a famous saying among scumbags: "Only when you are about to lose it will you cherish it." This saying was also applicable to cooperation between factions. Furthermore, tipping and updating for book friend 20200-426-2105-21923. Button was on vacation and writing crazily at home. Haven't you been updating recently? Sob, 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 seeking monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 667. Lin Yuan looked up in Sun Ningxiang's direction and found that she was looking at him. Lin Yuan nodded gently at Sun Ningxiang. Sun Ningxiang was delighted to get Lin Yuan's response. Although Sun Ningxiang did not intend to cooperate with the Miao family's beast creation garden, it was not a good thing to fall out with the Miao family here. As long as her grandmother was still around, it was impossible for the Miao family to pull Du Immortal Garden down from being a top faction in a year. However, the Miao family could put pressure on Du Immortal Garden in all aspects. This made it even more difficult for Du Immortal Garden to move forward. Sun Ningxiang's sudden attack on the strong purple-robed youth was a gamble in her heart. If Lin Yuan did not appreciate it, then Sun Ningxiang would have lost half of her gamble. Everything she had done now would be in vain. Sun Ningxiang's impression of Lin Yuan and the Sky City became better when she received a response as soon as she made a move. However, what happened next made Sun Ningxiang clench her fists tightly. The strong, purple-robed youth glanced at the crowd of onlookers with cold eyes. As a result, the voices of the crowd that were originally in heated discussion immediately quieted down. The strong, purple-robed youth ignored Sun Ningxiang's attack and turned to look at Lin Yuan. "I'm here because the Miao family's beast creation garden wants to talk about cooperation with Sky City." Lin Yuan pondered for a moment. Then, he looked at the strong, purple-robed youth playfully. "Cooperation? Sky City is most willing to cooperate with other factions. We just became friendly partners with the Blissful Sea clan. I wonder how the Miao family's beast creation garden wants to cooperate with Sky City?" As he spoke, Lin Yuan felt more and more like a thousand-layer cake. Due to the hatred between Lin Yuan and the Zheng family's second young master, Lin Yuan had already regarded the Miao family as a hostile faction. Moreover, the Miao family had sent people to mess with him. Therefore, it was impossible for Lin Yuan to reach a cooperation with the Miao family's beast creation garden. Lin Yuan had said this mainly to keep Sun Ningxiang in suspense. Lin Yuan did not know much about the top faction, Du Immortal Garden. He planned to let Wen Yu sort out the Sun family's Du Immortal Garden's information after she returned. However, as soon as his private force, Sky City, released its functions, the direct descendants of the Sun family appeared. If the Sun family was still hiding in the crowd and observing, it was obvious how much the Sun family desired creation masters. On the other hand, Lin Yuan wanted to throw the Blissful Sea clan to the Miao family's beast creation garden. The Blissful Sea tribe had indeed reached an agreement with him, and this was a fact witnessed by all the people present. The only business of his private organization, Sky City, was the private organization territory on Starweb. There was nothing the Miao family could do to him. On the other hand, the Blissful Sea tribe had a lot of assets, and the Miao family could take advantage of them. He planned to put in more effort to cooperate with the Blissful Sea tribe in the future and help them strengthen more supreme-grade angelfish of Blissful during the gestation period. This would allow the Blissful Sea tribe to have more angelfish of Blissful, which could be considered as compensation to the Blissful Sea tribe. The purple-robed youth was stunned by Lin Yuan's words. Based on Lin Yuan's previous attitude, the purple-robed youth did not expect Lin Yuan to have the intention to cooperate. The muscular purple-robed youth pondered for a moment before saying, "If Sky City and the Beast Creation Garden cooperate, the Beast Creation Garden can ensure that Sky City can maintain its current functions. However, Sky City needs to complete the orders assigned by the Beast Creation Garden. The price of the orders will be carefully discussed with the other people in the Beast Creation Garden. The Beast Creation Garden will not let Sky City suffer a loss. Before Lin Yuan could finish listening to the purple-robed youth's words, he rolled his eyes. The Meow family's Beast Creation Garden had a big appetite. They wanted to take over Sky City and make it work for the Beast Creation Garden. Lin Yuan had 100 rejections in his heart and did not want to waste any more time with the purple-robed youth. However, when he saw Sun Ningxiang's clenched fists, Lin Yuan immediately said, "If the price is right, I can consider it." After saying this, Lin Yuan started to count down from 5 in his heart. As soon as Lin Yuan counted to 3, he heard Sun Ningxiang's anxious voice. The Meow family's Beast Creation Garden is really insincere, and it's getting uglier. The Meow family's Beast Creation Garden is really insincere, and it's getting uglier and uglier. On the contrary, the Do Immortal Garden is sincere and wants to cooperate with Sky City. At that moment, Lin Yuan was even more certain. The Sun family's Do Immortal Garden's demand for creation masters was far more urgent than he had imagined. Sun Ningxiang's words made the purple-robed youth's expression suddenly change. Isn't the Do Immortal Garden already in contact with the Beast Creation Garden and preparing to cooperate? Young Lady Sun is still looking for other factions outside. Does the Do Immortal Garden not believe in the Beast Creation Garden's strength? Sun Ningxiang wanted to beat the purple-robed youth to death. Sun Ningxiang was very clear about the Beast Creation Garden scheme against the Do Immortal Garden. Therefore, she hated the Beast Creation Garden to begin with. In Sun Ningxiang's heart, this purple-robed youth was already a threat to the Do Immortal Garden and Sky City's cooperation. It could be said that the pressure of the Do Immortal Garden was now all on Sun Ningxiang. The pressure of supporting a top faction had already exhausted Sun Ningxiang, who had just become an adult. If Tao Yao and Qinghua had not been supporting Sun Ningxiang as her left and right hands, Sun Ningxiang would have long collapsed. Now that Sun Ningxiang had finally found hope, the Beast Creation Garden had come to compete with her. This changed Sun Ningxiang's attitude toward the Beast Creation Garden from disgust to hatred. Sun Ningxiang said coldly, "What? When did the Meow family start interfering with our Sun family's matters? Is the Meow family so lenient? If the Beast Creation Garden wants to cooperate with the Do Immortal Garden, it depends on whether the Do Immortal Garden is willing. The Do Immortal Garden feels that the Beast Creation Garden is useless and doesn't want to cooperate. Is there a problem?" Lin Yuan raised his brows when he heard Sun Ningxiang's words. It turned out that this woman called Sun Ningxiang was a master of words. She said that the Beast Creation Garden was useless in front of the Meow family, but chose to cooperate with Sky City. Sun Ningxiang had unknowingly placed Sky City in a higher position than the Beast Creation Garden. The Sun family's Do Immortal Garden was a top faction. Publicly saying such words was equivalent to sweeping the Beast Creation Garden's reputation to the ground. She was using the Beast Creation Garden's reputation to endorse the newly established Sky City. This was a real favor to Lin Yuan and Sky City. The public endorsement of a top faction was enough to let the Sky City, which currently only showed its creation master resources, have a reputation that needed time to ferment. It also covered the already mysterious Sky City with a mysterious veil. Today's first day was even more. Seeking monthly votes. If everyone saw it, they would sign it and let the button know who was reading. Please give the button some suggestions. The button will work hard to improve and keep improving. End of this chapter. Chapter 668. The purple-robed youth's face was as black as an iron pot. The Meow family's plan against the Sun family was of great importance. After hearing Sun Ningxiang's statement, the purple-robed youth no longer had the time or mind to care about the cooperation with the newly established faction, Sky City. He turned around and left. He planned to return to the Meow family and tell everything that had happened here to the Meow family's direct descendants' upper echelons. The decision would be made by the direct descendants' upper echelons. What was happening now was no longer something that the purple-robed youth, who was only wearing a half circle of green sprouts, could participate in. Once the purple-robed youth left, everyone present was no longer afraid of the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden's momentum. Instead, they began to compete for the 108 fate letters in the wheel. Customizing a bronze/epic fae based on the comprehended willpower rune was something that every spirit chi professional could not refuse. Even if they did not have spare willpower runes and did not need to customize a high-quality bronze fae, they could also save such an opportunity as a resource for a rainy day. As a result, any individual or faction that could take out 3 source-type items planned to participate in the next competition. What if they were the lucky ones? There were a lot of people present, but there were only 108 fate letters in the star wheel. This made most of the people present not even have the chance to participate. It could be said that everyone present was a potential competitor. The star wheel was hidden in the clouds, and the hall was extremely spacious. Some of them would most likely enter the clouds and mist only to end up empty-handed, unable to even find their celestial wheels. Moreover, the fate letters were hung on the back of the star wheel. Even if the fate letters on the star wheel were taken away, there was still no change on the surface of the star wheel. This made it very likely that even if one was lucky enough to touch a star wheel, the fate letters on the star wheel would have long been taken away by others. Sun Ningxiang looked at the people with the fate letters behind the money-making star wheel and suddenly had an idea. Above the heavens, the star wheel was raging. Among the glittering starlight, there was a mystery bestowed by the heavens. The clouds and mist lingered, hiding the mystery. At this moment, the people who were frantically fighting for the fate letters were like the few common people fighting for this mystery. Above these few common people and the heavens, there was a force called Sky City that was overlooking everything. When Sun Ningxiang was young, Du Congealing Immortal Garden was at its peak. At that time, Sun Ningxiang's little brother was not born yet, so Sun Ningxiang was the only direct descendant of the Congealing Du Immortal Garden. It would not be an exaggeration to say that she was the apple of his eye. As the pearl of a peak force, Du Immortal Garden, Sun Ningxiang had seen much of the world since she was young. However, at this moment, Sun Ningxiang felt that she could not see through the masked youth in front of her. Sun Ningxiang said to Peach Demon and Apricot Gua, "You two can go back first. Tao Yao, there are still some small collaborations between Du Immortal Garden and Beast Creation Garden. Go and stop them." Xinghua spread the news of Du Immortal Garden rejecting the collaboration with the Beast Creation Garden. "Make our Sun family's stance clear." Tao Yao and Xinghua responded, "Yes, Mississippi." Then they left the territory of Sky City's private organization and began to deal with the matters related to the Dew Condensation Immortal Garden according to Sun Ningxiang's instructions. Even if there was no clear cooperation between the top forces, their private businesses were inextricably linked. Moreover, it was between the Dew Immortal Garden, which had a huge demand for Creation Master's resources, and the Beast Creation Garden, which produced Creation Master resources. For Sun Ningxiang to give such an order, it could be said that she was planning to go all out and stake everything on one throw. Lin Yuan was a little surprised by Sun Ningxiang's decisiveness. At the same time, he understood that Sun Ningxiang's current action was once again expressing her determination to cooperate with him. Sun Ningxiang walked forward and said to Lin Yuan, "I'm sorry. If what I just said gets out, the Miao family might not be able to tolerate Sky City." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan smiled non-committally and said, "I'm sorry. Whether or not the Miao family can accept Sky City depends on the Miao family's magnanimity. Whether or not the Miao family can accept Sky City depends on Sky City's own ability. You don't have to worry about Sky City." Lin Yuan was only relying on his own ability and the spirit-locked spatial zone. Even if they could reach the height of Class 5 Creation Masters, which was far superior to the Miao family, they would not be able to do so. However, in terms of the number of Creation Master resources, Lin Yuan was undoubtedly inferior to the Miao family, especially low-class Creation Master resources. However, Lin Yuan was not afraid of the Miao family suppression. It was simply unrealistic for the Creation Master factions to suppress each other and limit the source of customers. In an environment where Creation Master resources were abnormally scarce, as long as there were genuine Creation Master resources, it was impossible for there to be no customers. Therefore, what the Miao family could do was nothing more than a fight a price war or limit Sky City's access to basic spiritual ingredients. It was a fundamental attack on Sky City. However, Lin Yuan had always been the business of gaining something with nothing at all. Apart from energy ores, which every spirit Qi professional needed, and time, Lin Yuan did not need any spiritual ingredients. Under such circumstances, it was impossible for the Miao family to block Sky City's spiritual ingredients. If there was a price war, the longer it lasted, the more the Miao family would lose. Lin Yuan, who was empty-handed, would always only profit and never lose. Sun Ningxiang was about to say something else when the person who had drawn the white card in the fate letter had already appeared. Under the envious gazes of the others, a tall woman wearing cyan half-body armor walked in front of Lin Yuan. The tall woman in the cyan half-body armor was exceptionally excited. She first let out a "yeah" before opening her mouth to speak. She first exclaimed before saying, "My lord, I have drawn a fate letter with a white card. It's just that the willpower rune I comprehended is rather special, and the direction of my affinity with Fays is also rather special. Therefore, I want to provide a bronze Fey myself, and my lord can enhance it to epic. I wonder if it's possible?" Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan did not refuse and nodded. "Since you want to provide your own Fey, it saves me the trouble of sensing your willpower rune. Of course, the premise is that the Fey you provide me cannot be a Fey like the spirit siphon goldfish, which requires multiple times the consumption of creation master resources." The woman in cyan half-body armor hurriedly replied, "My lord, don't worry. My lord, don't worry. I will definitely provide a normal Fey." Lin Yuan said straightforwardly, "If it's convenient, you can summon the Fey for me to see." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the woman in cyan half-body armor waved her hand and summoned a pig-shaped life form with a long nose. Lin Yuan used true data to check this pig-shaped life form with a long nose and immediately knew why the woman in cyan half-body armor had chosen to take the initiative to provide a Fey. The second one was even better. End of this chapter.